Peace, everybody. Hold on. Yeah, peace, everybody. Um, okay, I think this works. Okay, peace, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's having a great Sunday. This is going to be a great conversation. I'm going to be joining in with my great brother, Mr. Holipsism, aka Hollow. We're going to be addressing a topic that we've been seeing on the internet lately, what's been going on for quite some time. We've kind of kept it under the rug, but I feel we feel the need to address it now. That is, the transatlantic slave trade didn't happen according to the internet pretendians. So, as you guys know, you have the social media pretendians, you have the internet pretendians, and they just love to act like, oh, the slave trade never happened, or if it did happen, it happened in reverse. So, before we begin, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you comment down below, tell us what you think, and of course, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Okay. Now, if you want to come in, I'm going to put the link. And once I put the link in, you will be able to come in.
Man, I wish Carl was here. She
Might be
definitely needs to
listening.
be on here.
She might be on here. She might be listening in the future. So, we'll have to make sure.
Yeah. So we're dealing with the indigenous Instagrammers, the Native American tweeters. I should call them Native American Xers now. Yeah. What's up, Salima? What's up, Ronan? What's up, Michael? And what's up to everybody who's listening, who's not in the chat room?
Also, I want to say huge thank you to the subscribers. We're almost close to 2,000. We have 1.76. We're approaching 1.8. So we just need 200 more to get to 2,000 subscribers. Big thanks to those who are subscribing. Let's get to 2,000. Let's get to 5,000. Let's get to 10,000. And so the more we do that, the better. Okay, what I'm going to do is for the brief minute, I'm going to be going to the other account. So, because obviously I don't want the echo and I want to be able to control the commentary. So, just give me a second and I will get into the other account. And then after that, we can go forward.
Cool. Yeah, man. I'm just here. Basically, I'm doing Jabari's, what do they call it in hip hop? I'm doing his ad libs for the day. I'm in the back being his hype man. That's my role for today.
Yes. So let's get started. So according to the internet pretendians, the slave trade never happened. So the transatlantic slave trade never happened. Slavery wasn't real. If it did happen, it happened in reverse. So let's address that talking point first. Obviously, we know they are for clicks and views. Obviously, we know these people are not sincere. They are not genuine. But just a basic question would be, if the transatlantic slave trade didn't happen, how did you get here?
We were always here.
Okay, so my question is, if we were if we were here, as you say, why do you refer to yourself as black? According to when Europeans encountered the native population, they were referred to as red. hence the word red skin, which is a derogatory word, which is why the Washington Redskins changed their name because it was offensive. So why do you refer to yourselves as black and not what Native Americans were historically referred to, which was red?
I guess we need one of them to answer that.
If we were here first, what native languages do you speak? Do we speak Sioux? Do we speak Lakota? Do we speak Cherokee? Do we speak Catawba? Do we speak Yamasee? Can you sort of tell me what native language we speak, or groups of languages we speak?
Comanche?
Okay, if we were to speak Comanche, why are we not naming our children after the names? Why do we have names like Tayshawn and Devontae and Lamar? Why are we not naming our kids like Geronimo, or of the Apache people? Why are we not naming them Sitting Bull? Why are we not, as what happened during the battle of Sitting Bull, one of the last major victories against Colonel Custer? Why don't we name our kids, native names? Why are we naming our kids Tayshawn and Tyrone and Keisha? Why? Why are we naming our kids that?
I have a question too. This is one that I've always asked and I've never really gotten an answer. Is how do you lose your native tongue in the place of your origin? Like I can understand if Africans were, brought over to the US and surrounded by white people, how over generations you can lose your language. I don't understand how you can lose your language if you were born here. You were never really separated from the place of your origin. So how come you don't speak these Native American languages? I mean, is that a good question or is that ignorant?
It is not ignorant. You're asking a valuable question. You're asking a valuable question. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when that movie Prey came out, the Predator movie, they had a version of it in Comanche, and I figured that these people here who say they're Native Americans, they would have been rejoicing because now they could understand it. It wasn't in English; it was in Comanche. But I noticed that none of them really, you know, paid any attention to the Comanche version or understood what it was saying, which is weird. Since we were here, this is where we came from. I don't understand. And I seriously don't want to know. Like for people who really think this stuff, I really would love to have a conversation with them. Because maybe I'm ignorant. Maybe I am. I don't know. Well, oh, how about this? I want to ask you a question, Yabar. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
What happened to the ships?
That's a simple question. That's a simple answer. What happened to the ships? They sunk, or they got used for something else. I mean, most boats from the 18th century are not here anymore. That's everything. Every ship, you don't have evidence of ships of European immigrants coming to America. Why? Things sink or things get used for something else. So why are there no ships? Because it's been over, what is it, 140 years since the last slave ship came to America. Okay, 160 years has passed, actually. Almost 100, yeah, 163 years has passed. So what happens in 163 years? Things decay, things get buried, or they get used for something else.
Yeah, what would be the purpose of keeping a slave ship?
There would
If
be
the
no
slave
reason.
trade is over, why would you keep a slave ship? Like, what would be the purpose of that? It takes up a lot of space. So I'm assuming that these slave ships was probably, I'm guessing, I don't know. I'm assuming that they were used for something else.
And also let's also factor in 1808, the slave trade became illegal, and it was illegal to import slaves from Africa, not from the West Indies, but or in the Western Hemisphere, but from Africa. If a slave owner was taking enslaved Africans from the continent of Africa into the Americas, into the United States, why on Ola Damare's green earth would they leave evidence of a ship? You're asking to get arrested and get in trouble with the law. That's literally quintessential evidence. And then all you would just have to ask these enslaved Africans was this the ship that you were on? Well, these enslaved Africans weren't blind, unless, well, in some cases they were. There was a situation that happened on a ship where the whole entire crew get blind. But for the most part, they can remember. So they would know this is the slave ship that they were on. So they would go to jail. So why would you do that? Like, why would you leave the slave ship present?
And I have another
I
question.
have.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, what's up,
Hey,
sis?
how are you?
I just had this question to ask based on what he just said. Oh, you know what? Go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
I'm only gonna be here for a short time. I'm getting ready to run out,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
y'all caught my mind. I have a serious question, and I'm gonna say just like you guys said it. These questions sometimes are glossed over or ignored or purposely not answered because it doesn't make any sense. Um, I remember listening to just about anybody who has gone over to the continent, and they talked about the fact that they felt like they were at home. Um, I remember Umoja and um, Deontay talking about when they went to, I think it was, I can't remember,
Tanzania.
Tanzania, and they were basically having a cookout. So our culture is so ingrained in us that we can go over to another continent, interact with the people at that continent, on that continent, and still have the same fundamental activities. Not even just the language, but our actions are still the same as a people from here and over there. I don't know. And my great, I don't know, I don't remember how many greats grandfather was actually a Cherokee, and I don't have no type of connection to that part because it's so far removed from who I am. And it was just, that one ancestor. But I'm quite sure that when I go over to the continent, I'm going to have so many different commonalities with the people there. I just don't understand how we just lost everything from that part of who we are supposed to be or who we descend from, to the point where we don't have anything in us that resembles them. That makes sense to me.
Right.
But that's just me. That's all I wanted to say. I just need us to be real with ourselves. If you're afraid to be who you actually are, or you're so ashamed to be African that you want to be a part of a people that they truly don't want nothing to do with you, go ahead and do that. Do that, be that, and leave us alone.
That's what
That's
I've been
how
saying
I
that for the
feel about it.
longest. I have zero problems with anybody who feels they're Native American, just for the record. Zero
Be Native
problems.
American, but
Yeah,
don't tell me who I am. Don't
right.
try and put that off on me, because there's absolutely no way that all of the black people that were enslaved in the United States, in Europe, for in regards to the transatlantic slave trade, they all were Indian people, indigenous people to the Americas. That is absolutely insane to even think that that's a thing. That's crazy. We don't even look like them. They look completely different from us. They are completely different people. Those people still have their language. They still have their customs and cultures, and we don't identify with them at all.
Which is very strange since we came from here.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Also,
just
if,
wanted,
if the slave trade didn't happen, then what are all those accounts of slave ships being brought into the America and then being referred to as Negroes? Are those not real people, or
What?
are those imaginary stories? Is that Greek myth? Is that like the American version of Greek
well, actually,
mythology?
actually,
Like,
actually, Jabari, you got like that's the next thing that I was going to ask you, because if there was no transatlantic slave trade, then that means there's no such thing as slave journals, right?
yeah,
People who have actually written about this stuff, because that's where we're getting the stories from. So I guess those don't exist either.
Well, what about all of the trading posts on the continent of Africa?
Uh-oh.
I mean, that's actual. Those buildings are still there. They're still doing tours and showing the male and female slave dungeons or at different ports on the coast of Africa. So I don't understand how those are actual. I mean, those are things we could put our fingers on. Everything that they're talking about in reference to us being indigenous and Indians is just stuff that they've come up with in their head. They don't have any concrete proof.
That's an interesting question, because I find it funny that one of the biggest issues that we have, like Pan African has, is that Africans don't trade with one another, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, they traded slaves with each other, right? That's the
Right.
only thing that they managed to trade was slaves, but nothing else, not goods, not spices, nothing, just slaves. Because that's what they're going to say. They're going to say, "Well, they traded with each other. They didn't bring them over to America." That's what they're going to say.
Well, I have to go. I just wanted to make those statements and put it out there in the atmosphere. And um,
Love you,
again,
sis.
I love you so much. Again, if in fact you believe that you are a native to the Americas and you were not part of the transatlantic slave trade, kudos. Go live
Yeah.
your life, find you a reservation, um,
Get you
get
a
a peace
straightening
pipe,
comb.
do whatever you're gonna do and be good. That's what I don't understand about people who oppose the BAIO. Why can't we just have different points of views? Because we are not going over and saying y'all dead wrong. I'm saying if because you're coming over here, now you got to show me proof that
Mm.
this is actually what's happening. But because I know that there's actually no proof, I'm good with y'all just staying over there and leaving us alone and letting us do what we need to do for our people. And let's agree to disagree. You be happy over there. We're gonna be happy and thriving over here.
Do they still sell straightening combs?
I have no clue.
Okay.
Don't know. I mean, they probably do. If I'm not mistaken, they have them like electric, and I don't know. I don't know. I
Okay.
don't. I haven't used a straightening comb in years, but
I
do
remember they
you?
used to be on the oven, like on the open
Yeah,
flame.
they had them in the open flame. Yeah, those
Yeah.
burn your forehead and everything. Yeah, I got memories, memories. But yeah, just do you be your Native American self and love those people and do what you do. And I don't understand, because somebody just told me a couple of weeks ago that if I believe that I'm a descendant from the continent, and they believe that they are descendants of Indians, that we're not brother and sister, and um we shouldn't interact with one another. So
I'm cool with that.
I'm so cool with that. And then,
Yeah.
Yeah, and my thing is if they believe they're Indian, fine. But when you get your wake up call, don't come asking the black community for help.
no, sorry, we're
And
good.
Like,
I am so cool with that. If we're
yeah, like
two
if you
We're
completely
want
good.
to be
separate people,
yeah, but when the cops pull you over or somebody calls you a racial slur and attacks you, don't come and say to the black community, "Oh, these are racist white supremacists." You said you weren't black. Go to the Native American community.
Yeah, do that. And I'm fine with all of that. I am so fine with just us being completely separate people. I'm so because as far as I'm concerned, you could stay here and do what you do. And in my mind, because I do love black people, whether they are black people who um believe as I believe, or black people who believe such as you do, I still think that we should be able to be cool. We should be able to at some point trade and things like that. But apparently that's not what they want. So we're gonna give them what they want. And let's stay away from them. They stay away from us. Oh, keep our names out your mouth, and we won't have to have these types of conversations anymore, because we good and you good. That's
I
all.
that's
have
been my
another
position since day
question.
one.
I have
That's all.
another question. I have another question. Oh, this is gonna be a tough one that the internet pretendians are they're gonna be doing pretzels over. Okay, they say that slavery, the transatlantic slave trade never happened. If the transatlantic slave trade didn't happen, what how did all the black people in Jamaica, in the Bahamas, Dominican Republic, and Haiti get there? Well, they're indigenous to the Americas as well. Okay. If they're indigenous to the Americas and the slave trade never happened, why are you arguing for reparations?
Mm, that's
Because the
interesting.
slave trade never happened. If the slave trade never happened, then white folks don't have a reason to give us reparations because A, it didn't happen.
So guess what? I'm gonna say this, that my family is from Barbados, and um I was talking to my cousin, and I made mention to us being slaves in Barbados, and he corrected me and said that my family actually jumped off the boat before we got to the shores of Barbados, and they went up in the mountains. So I got proof that we were on those ships. That's our history. So you can't say that the people in Barbados didn't come, or from Africa, on a slave ship, because I have proof that we did. I mean, there's proof. There's proof. They have
But
ledgers. They
since the
have.
transatlantic slave trade never happened, then those black people are indigenous. They never came from Africa. They were just indigenous.
Okay. I mean, we're talking about people who, one, don't know history. We're talking about people who, two, don't have any evidence of what they're saying. And I'm telling you that I have evidence of what I'm saying. So they could say whatever they want. I keep telling y'all that I'm trans financial. I'm a trans millionaire, billionaire. But that's not reflected in my bank account. That's just something that I keep saying.
But
You
as
understand
long as
what I'm
you
saying?
feel that you are, you
Right, right,
are.
right.
Oh,
As long as I feel like I am, the bank should actually start depositing my money in my account, because I'm trans financial. Because that's how everything works now.
Oh, Jesus.
But guess what? That only happens to some people, because I've been trans financial for some years, and I still got to get up every day and go to work because that's just in my head.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and yet, hold on, wait. They will be the most transphobic, but they're being transracial.
Exactly.
You say trans people don't exist, but you're being transracial. So apparently they
Oh,
do.
oh gosh, because that's exactly
This
what
is
it is.
also confusing.
They're transracial. Racial. I don't even know how to say it. Just
This is
foolishness.
Transracial.
all
Yeah, I'm transracial. I was born black and I became Indian. We was born African and Negroes and we became Indians. It's the internet pretending version of Hebrews to Negroes.
Oh boy. All right, I'm actually gonna leave this time because if I keep y'all gonna make me stay and I'm gonna be late. I love y'all so much. Talk to y'all later.
peace.
Peace.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's just these are just the simple questions we're asking. We're not here to have, a really, really long conversation. All we're here just ask a couple questions. Just ask these questions. If we didn't come from Africa, these should be easily answered. It
Mhm.
shouldn't take, a rocket scientist to give us answers.
Did you listen to that video that I sent?
I didn't even bother listening to it. I'm like, I'm not even entertaining that. I already know what's going to
Okay.
be said. I don't even need to know because I already know what's going to be said.
What are some of the main talking points to people who don't believe this?
They'll say, oh, well, there were no cameras back
What?
then. Yes. They said, one person said, there were no cameras of the slave ships. So how do we know the slave ships were real? There were no cameras.
Wow. Wow. One of the strangest ones that I've heard is they say that they look at the population of Black people here in America today, and then say it's no way that many people came over in the 1619. And I have to say that amount of ignorance is jaw dropping. Like I can't. And when somebody said that to me, I couldn't even address it because I'm like, whoa. Seriously? There's 300 million people in America now. I wonder how many people were there in 1619.
In America, in the 1900s, I think it was like the 1950s. There was like 180 million Americans, and now the country's 330 million.
But how did that happen? How did it get to 300 million, Jabari?
Hold on, give me a second. My
This
thing
is
is
craziness. So nobody understands the concept of population growth. That just that never occurred to anyone. If I'm not mistaken, it's the same percentage to white people of Black people here in America that there was back in 1619 that there is right now.
yeah.
It's just that the population has grown, but the percentage compared to the other has stayed the same.
Black people the highest Black people ever were in America was 20%. Black people, that's the highest now in the country in 1790. Otherwise, Black people have been the same. The percentage of Black people today is actually higher than what it was in the 1920s and the 1930s. Back in the 1920s and the 1930s, I think Black people only made up like 9% of the population.
Hmm.
And now we make up 13. The African American population in the 1930s was like 9%. Like we were under 10% of the total population in the 1930s. We were less than um that population. We were really, really a small percentage of the population.
You got my
Yeah,
wheels turning.
in the 1930s, yeah, I was like in the 1930s, the 1920s and 1930s, we were at the lowest percentage. Black people were the highest percentage in 1790. We were 19.3% of the population. In 1930, we were 9.7% of the population.
Gee, I wonder how that happened. I guess we'll
And
never
our
know.
population at that time was 12.9 million.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know. How did that happen? How did you go from 9 to 19? You know what else I find funny? If you are a Native American, why don't you associate with a tribe? Why do you call yourself Black Americans?
Yep.
Like, shouldn't you be associated with whatever the Native American tribe
Yeah.
is in this country?
Yeah, I'm Sioux. I'm part of the Sioux tribe. I'm part of the Cherokee tribe. I'm from, First Nations. Well, First Nations is Canada, but I'm Inuit. I'm Coaquiuro. I'm Cheyenne. I'm Navajo. Like you would be associating with a actual tribe.
I guess
And
the
Native Americans
grandma.
know they're Native Americans, but they're not just Native American. They have specific tribes. I'm Chickasaw. I'm Choctaw. I'm Creek. I'm Cherokee. Like I stated before, it's just saying you're Black American is like very flat, and it
Yeah,
doesn't even.
I don't understand. Didn't the grandmother in the rocking chair with the long hair, didn't she tell you what tribe you was from?
Mm.
Because everybody got that grandma with the long hair and sitting in the rocking chair. Everybody got that. So she didn't tell you what your tribe was?
And it's funny, what's crazy is again that they always assumed that it was a woman that was the Native American. They never assumed that it was a Native American father and a Black
Right.
mother that got them there. And you've had actual Indians come out and Native Americans come out and call them out on their BS. We've seen the videos of actual Native Americans coming out and calling these internet pretendians out.
Yeah, what is this Black American stuff? I don't get that. I don't know what that means. It doesn't make any sense to me. You
And
should be
then,
associated with a tribe.
and then here's the thing, right? They'll then say our ancestry starts in 1526, then not 1619. That's what they'll say. Okay, well, if we started in 1526, that was the Spanish. So why are you not getting reparations from Spain? Because it was Spain that brought y'all over here. But y'all ain't asking reparations from Spain. Because y'all say again 1526, but y'all not asking for reparations from Spain.
But wait a minute, brought them over from where?
I got a question.
What's up?
What's up, Holla? What's up, Jabari?
What's up?
All right, so Jabari said 1526. That's when it all started for them, the so-called Black Native Americans. So that
But
means they
where were they
weren't
brought
here.
from, Ronan?
That's exactly. But I was going to say, so if you're indigenous people, you were already here. So, I mean, what? It was ancient aliens? What, they got transported here? I mean, spaceship? I
And
mean, come on.
also, if you say we're indigenous to America and it started in 1526, what was happening before 1526? So if our history starts in 1526, that means before then nobody existed here. So then white people would then have a justification to say, why couldn't we take America? You said your history started in 1526, so that assumes nobody was there. This was just empty land, right?
Yep.
Yeah, what's your beef with Spain? Where did they take you from?
Mm.
Or even that, if that's the case, what's their beef? They should have a beef with countries like Norway, Scandinavia. You had people from that part of the world who came to America as well, way
Yeah.
before 1526.
Yep. Spain, Portugal. Why are you not asking reparations from them? Why are you asking reparations exclusively from the United States?
I mean,
Because if we were 1526 that we came here, let's just use the state of Florida. And they bring up the fact that it was 1526 in St. Augustine. Spain becomes a U.S. state in 1819. That means black people would have been under Spanish rule longer than they've been the entire history of the United States. So again, why are black people, especially in the state of Florida, not asking Spain for reparations?
Bingo. How about Mexico? Why aren't they asking? Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, all that was all part of Spanish territories. So why aren't they asking for it as well?
France, y'all ain't asking reparations from France.
France, nope.
It's this twisting, distorting, cherry picking facts that they feel validates their narrative. And it's
Validation mental trauma. That's what it validates, is that you're denying what happened to you, what happened to our people. You're running away from it. You're denying that you seriously damaged psychologically. You don't seek help for it. And then you go and appropriate someone else's culture, a culture that has been ravaged by Europeans. So you want to glom onto that and think that's glorious. Well, you got a continent where all these native pretendians, they should just go read the destruction of the book by Chancellor L. Williams about the destruction of black civilization, where you have African societies way, way, way doing things long, long, long before the transatlantic slave trade even existed. The burgeoning societies, all these different things, and they don't even read these books. Like I said before, what are they doing to keep alive these languages that are dying out as generations of Native Americans get older, their great granddad in their 70s, 80s, 90s, these people die. How come you aren't promoting the language? How are you keeping them alive? How about the traditions that these people had? If you are claiming to be a Native American, why aren't you claiming these traditions? Why aren't you keeping them alive?
Also, majority of Native Americans don't have braids and dreadlocks in their hair. So if you're Native American, why do you have dreadlocks and braids and weave in your hair? I've never seen a Native American who is truly Native American have dreadlocks, braids, and weave in their hair. I've never seen that.
What about the ancient artifacts of straightening combs in Native American culture? So we can't find that. Like, don't they have like those straightening combs in the museum or something?
Yeah, man. When they excavate, areas, Americans.
And also because the majority of Native American dudes I have seen if you've ever watched King of the Hill is a great John Redcorn, or you see Geronimo or Apache, they have long, straight hair. They don't have dreadlocks, afros, braids, or weave in their hair. It's literally long, straight hair.
Or even that. What is the cuisine that you eat? Do you eat Native American cuisine? The dishes that they eat? I mean, I watched a series on Amazon called Dark Winds. It's about Native Americans. Police on it happened back in the 70s. It's portrayed during the 70s on the tribal police. I didn't see one black Native American in that series. Everyone in that series is a Native American.
Also, where did the culture of eating so-called soul food, is that so? Soul food is Native American food? So Native Americans was eating ham hocks and pig and all that shit. That's where that came from? Wow. Wow.
Sorry, I can't stop laughing. Because the whole argument is just insane, man. I mean, come on. You just blowing holes. Every argument I have is just you're blowing holes through it, man. It's just making me laugh, man. And if there's anyone out there That's a black Native American. I apologize for laughing, man. I'm sorry. Oh God. Woo. I needed a good laugh. If you and Jamal would have destroyed it
Also,
with facts.
also, if black people are Native Americans, why aren't we getting killed by the police in higher numbers? Because Native Americans have the highest incident of police brutality than any other group, including black people. So if black people are Native Americans, we should be seeing way more police shootings than what we're dealing with now.
Got the highest suicide rate, the highest rate of alcoholism. How come no one's all right? That's another thing too. Good point, Jafar. If you're a Native American, then you should be able to claim wherever you are. How come is that's not declared like tribal land? Where's the tribal police? I mean, you should have your tribal police. You have. I mean, you should have that. So, I mean, but I'm just asking. I'm just asking a question because Jabari
No,
made a good point.
I want to know what Jason is asking. Where's the casino?
Yeah.
You see what happened when they tried to claim that what the Cherokees did. They're like, oh, wait a minute, what? Nah, you ain't with us.
And those were black people who have literal ties to the Cherokee. We're not
Right.
talking about black people we're talking about black folks who can actually have living proof that they come from the Cherokee nation, and the Cherokees still denied them.
Yep.
If you Native American, why
Oh
you deny?
God.
Oh well, they're not the real Native Americans. Okay, so what are they then? If the Cherokee, those Native Americans aren't real Native Americans, what are they?
You know what this reminds me of? This has all of the markings of the flat earthers.
Oh God.
Why conspiracy to show that the world is not really round, it's flat. Why? That's a lot of moving parts. That's a lot of moving parts for this conspiracy.
I'll never forget. I'll never forget. There was a person who said the Flat Earth Association has members across the globe.
Yeah, that's the classic.
Yeah.
We have members all across the globe.
Yeah, the inside mental institutions too. Very
Last time I
comfortable
heard a
states out
globe is 3D. Last time I heard a globe is 3D. So how is the Earth flat then?
Oh my
Like,
God.
black black
Also,
actually does
also,
this
if
comment
the
up
Earth
there.
is flat, also if the Earth was flat, that means the world would be 2D. So then, if the world was 2D, then how are we able to walk front and back? Because if you only lived in a 2D world, you could only go up, down, or left, right. You can't go front and back. You can't go forward and back. So if the earth is flat, how are we able to move back and forward?
Yo, my game set and match to the flat earthers is a lunar eclipse. Mic drop in the story. You can literally see the shape against the moon. That's oh God. It's
But
really ridiculous.
I got a comeback for that, Holla, the flat Earth, because somehow this Earth, which is square or flat, square, whatever, comes from the same universe
Ooh.
that Bizarro came from and got transported here to the
Oh,
Milky Way
oh,
galaxy.
this one
And the
is
other
this one
Earth got
also.
transported to the square universe.
This is also the knockout punch. This is also the knockout punch. If the Earth was flat, if the universe was flat in 2D, as they said, so what happens when you look through a telescope? I mean, you look through a telescope and you see a planet. What is the planet gonna look like?
A triangle.
When you said the Earth and the universe is flat. So when I look out this telescope, I should see flat things. I shouldn't be able to. I should just see straight flatness.
It should be like you staring out at the ocean with a vanishing point. I mean, I don't know, man. This is beyond my pay scale, man.
If the Earth was flat and people believe that we fall off the Earth, how come we haven't had people fall off the Earth yet? Because if the Earth was flat, people should be falling off the Earth like it's Niagara Falls. So there
Sitting in
should be
the
a daily occurrence of people just falling off the Earth and never coming back.
If the Earth
yeah.
was flat, I would be able to see my TP.
Oh boy.
So what they're saying, and also, but they say is that gravity doesn't exist either.
So
Oh,
wait. So how is that possible? All right, if the Earth is flat, so you should be able to wait. There's ocean. Even that. How? How is this working? If the Earth is flat, how were you able to fly from here to say Brussels? You should be able to take a. I mean, what? How does that work? I'm trying to figure this out. How does that work?
I'm,
How do you get to Antarctica?
I'm trying to figure out how the
I
gravity
like
part
this.
works.
I like
Because
this
if you
point.
want to disprove gravity, all you have to do is just walk off a building.
Yeah, see how that works.
Yeah, right.
If
Right.
you're not the last son of Krypton, you fall in flat street pieces, son.
Yeah,
How does that
gravity
work?
only
So I get so Earth is
this
flat,
one is
so it should be
bad.
like what episode? What episode? What movie? Which one of that? It was one of those Pirates of the Caribbean movies where they sailed to the end of the Earth and they fell. So it should be like that. You should sail to the end of the vanishing point, and then the ocean just drops off like a giant waterfall, and then you end up God knows wherever. That's how it should be. Oh, man, I
If
work
the
at an
Earth was
engineering firm. I'll be talking. Yeah, I'll be talking to some engineers tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, let me run this by you.
This
Come
one
on.
is also another great one. He said if the Earth was flat, there would be no sunrise or sunset. It would literally go from night to day instantly when the Earth flips sides.
Boom. Thank you, Jason. Make that a T-shirt. That one too. Make that a T-shirt,
And the
man.
flat planets all spin like wheels. That's why we see the slim size of the planets through telescopes. Wait. But wait. If the planets spin like wheels, if the planets spin like wheels, then that means that the planet can't have a day or a night. It's just all day and all night because it doesn't flip on the other side. So if the planets are just spinning like wheels, that
But how
means the
fast are they
night side
spinning?
is never exposed to the day side.
Yeah, there's no such thing as sunrise or sunset if you have a flat Earth.
Nope.
It's just day and night. Whatever side is facing it's day. Whatever's facing away is night.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There would definitely never be a change. Like, so if you're on a part of the Earth where it's light, it would be light forever. And the other
Mm-hmm.
side of the Earth would be, so how come on the other side of the Earth, which would be China for us, right?
Yep.
Yep.
How come it's dark there right now and it's day for us,
Right.
but later on it's going to be day for them and dark for us? Why? How does that happen?
Because I guess it's like north of.
Also if the Earth was cold, also if the Earth was flat and one side was constantly facing the sun, that means that side of the Earth would be blazing hot every
Hot.
day,
Dang.
and the back side would be freezing cold every day. Meaning, essentially, nobody on planet Earth would be living on the night side of Earth. Everybody would be
It'd be
living.
freezing cold.
It would
Yeah.
literally be living on the day side.
So half of the planet, but it's even that.
You know
I
what the
guess it's like
crazy
North
part is?
mythology, man.
The crazy part is that we're actually having conversations. That's the crazy part. Like, we're having conversations about flat Earth. We're
Won't
having
be living on the
conversations
slim
about
edge.
the transatlantic slave trade, wherever you had all of these nations that was competing in it. Not competing, but participating in it.
And
And
getting
it
rich off of
all
it.
apart, yeah, getting rich off of it. But it was all a part of a grand conspiracy to make black people think that they came from Africa. Please make it make sense to me.
There's no way you can make it make sense unless you live in a world of alternative fact. There's no way you can make it make sense.
Yeah, I don't understand. That's why I said it's so similar. The conspiracy theories of flat Earth and this is so similar because I've always asked people, what is the purpose of making everybody believe that the Earth is round? Explain it to me. Like, what's the reason?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a conspiracy of that magnitude, why? I'm trying to figure out why. Like, what's the? This is what we're gonna do. We know the Earth is flat, but we're gonna convince everybody that it's round. Okay, why?
Yep. These are the
What is
type
the
of
purpose?
conversations to keep our progress stagnant. When you build it on this, you're not building on constructive action.
Bingo. It's to keep people confused. If you notice that the anti-African stuff is amped up, is really ramped up.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I think ever since we made Liberia the focus, it's been amped up even more.
Mm-hmm.
Now we ain't even African. So what we trying to go over to Africa for? We ain't African. We Black Americans, and I don't even know what that means because if you were here in America, then you should be a part of a tribe.
Yep. You have a history before America even existed, so you should have a language, names, culture, tradition, mythology. For example,
Treaties.
if we are
Straightening
indigenous
combs.
to America, even the songs we're listening to, it shouldn't be just blues and rock and roll. Well, rock and roll, yeah, that's his thing. Or jazz or soul or hip hop. There should be Native American music that we're listening to.
And how come we don't have any evidence of hot combs before Madam C.J. Walker? Shouldn't there be some ancient Native American hot combs that were found?
Yeah. Yeah. Along with the pottery bowls, all that stuff. Arrowheads, tomahawks, tomahawk blade. I mean, all of that, man. I mean, why? What? I mean, you should be mad every time Florida State plays a game and you see 70,000 people in that stadium doing that chant. You should be pissed off. Or when the Chiefs do it, or when the Braves do it, you should be angry.
Yeah.
You should be out there picketing.
Shouldn't the
You
logo
want
on
the
these teams be a hot cone?
yeah. So, yeah, the dude at Florida State gonna come out on a horse and throw a hot cone out in the middle of the field to start the game. I mean, yeah.
I mean,
Woo.
to be honest, if you got a hot comb, if you really Native American, you should be insulted. People that have a hot comb is not really keeping it real.
Oh, I have an interesting question. Since we are focusing on Liberia, and Liberia is our nation state. If the slave trade never happened, then why does it say in the Liberian Declaration of Independence that there's a slave trade? If the slave trade didn't happen, that means Liberia doesn't exist. So why does it exist then?
Boom.
Good question.
It
Because
says in the Declaration of Independence of the slave trade. If the slave trade isn't happening, it doesn't exist. Why does Liberia exist?
and also, have any of the nations that participated in the transatlantic slave trade said the same thing? Have they all said that never happened? That's a myth. We didn't benefit from that. We didn't make money off of that. Have any of them said that?
Nope.
Not from last time I heard.
As evil as the transatlantic slave trade was, nobody is denying its existence except these Black Americans here in America who aren't associated with any native tribes. I don't know. I mean, these are questions I think that deserve some consideration.
Did their ancestors partake in the treaties that they signed with the United States government with these African Native American tribes?
And
Do
why
they have?
aren't you?
Are they? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
why aren't they living on? Go ahead. Howard.
why don't you have stake in these casinos?
Why aren't you living on Native American land, reservations?
Yep.
Right.
I
Also,
mean,
if we were Native Americans, why don't we call it the native vote then? Why is it called the black vote? Why is it not called the native vote? Because the black Americans make up 13% of the population, and Native Americans make up 1 to 2% of the population. So at least about 15% of the population will be Native Americans. Why don't we call it the native vote then? We're trying to get Native Americans.
that's a good
To back
question.
to back you up on that, I have an even more devastating point.
Why don't they call it the Congressional Native Caucus instead of Congressional Black Caucus?
Yeah, exactly. Facebook, you can show everything that happens that you do. If you take, you go to dinner, you show your food, you show all of that. Where were all of you people at Standing Rock?
No one was there. I know. I saw it. I watched it on TV. I didn't see one Native American black person out there getting their asses kicked.
Why?
Yep.
I'm confused. Why weren't you out there supporting your brethren?
Or when the Redskins, when they were protesting in front of FedEx Field, when Washington was still called the Redskins, I don't remember seeing a whole bunch of Native American black folks out there protesting that either.
So here's another point that Jason just said. What do you think about that?
If the slave trade didn't happen, the DNA science must be fake. Since these Native Americans want to claim their Indian DNA, I guess all of our West African DNA is falsifiable. I mean, he's not lying. I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
If you say that, oh, we're not African, that means then the West African DNA that we get is false. So if that means that it's false, then that means our heritage must be false, which means that our parents and our grandparents and our great great grandparents are also false as well.
You
Yeah.
mean the grandma sitting in the rocking chair is fake?
The DNA is made from your ancestors. So since DNA is falsifiable, that means our ancestors are not reliable. That means our ancestors must be false then.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, I mean, you look at Brazil. How do those black folks get there? There's more Africans there, descendants of Africans there than in the United States, and they
And
all speak.
you know the thing about Brazil, Brazil got more black people, and yet Brazilians have kept obviously different circumstances, but they've kept their culture. They worship their religion, like Ubanda, Candomblé. They have Yoruba as a language.
Yep.
They have all of that. You don't see them say we're not black, we're not Africans, we're natives, we're Amerindians. You never hear Brazilians say that, black Brazilians. So why are we saying it?
Yo, I got the mic drop right here.
Yeah.
This is a mic drop. They say all the time DNA science is fake, except when it says you are not the father.
Oh,
Mic drop.
Oh, oh my gosh.
See, I believe, this is just my opinion, but I believe that these people are purposeful in what they're doing because they know that the solution to the problem is for us to embrace our nation state. So they love it here in America. They love the white man as their leader and their ruler and their king. And they don't want to anything that has to connect with Africa, anything that gives us to the point where we have empowerment and where we have control over a piece of territory and control policy. They are totally against that because they believe the white man is more capable of running a society than we are. So they're going to do everything they can to disconnect from Africa to the point of saying that we're Native Americans, even though they can't identify which tribe they're from. And it's funny that they asked us, well, which tribe are you from in Africa? Well, which tribe are you from in Native American land? Who are you? What tribe are you?
And also, let's say that they say, okay, what tribe are you from in Africa? Most Africans are not a single tribe. Many Africans are multiple ethnic groups and tribes. So I can say, yeah, I'm from multiple tribes. I'm Igbo, I'm Yoruba. Then what you gonna say? I'm Igbo, Yoruba, Ewe, Kru. I have multiple African ethnicities that I come from. What about you?
Jason, the link, could you put the link in there? Because Jason said he wants to jump on.
Yeah.
No problem. Hopefully we can get some Native Americans here on this live stream so we can talk to them. Don't worry. This is a safe.
Why I didn't?
This is a safe place. You don't have to worry. And we definitely don't have any water, so you got to worry about your hair getting wet.
And we won't call a mental institution either to come pick your ass up.
Okay, yeah. Let me just.
What happened to Mike? I think he was on.
Yeah, he's on. Let me just get 1 second. Let me just put it in to my YouTube account. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, there he is.
Yep. There's Michael. And then let me put that in. Okay, y'all. The link is in. The link is in. You guys should be able to get in, Jason. Yep. Just let us know, and it should be working.
What's up, Mike?
It was good. Y'all talking about the Black Pretendians. It's good. Y'all talking about the Black Pretendians, the real American heroes.
Yeah, we talking about the internet Pretendians. That's what we talking about.
Yeah, and the Earth is flat. We also talking about that we live on Bizarro Earth because it's flat. So.
Yeah, I'm so happy I'm on the light side.
Yep.
And people on the other side is fucked.
They're so Indian. They gotta buy Indian hair from across the globe.
Oh, I got the perfect question. If Black Americans, so-called Black Americans, if we were not African, if we're not African, why are they calling the new curriculum to teach Black students Black history AP African American Studies? Why would you name it AP African American Studies? We're not African, right? So why are you calling it AP African American Studies?
Interesting.
Are they teaching Black Native American history? Is that in the curriculum in any school or any? Are they teaching it in college, on college campuses about Black Native American history? God,
These people are something else, man.
I need a beer, man.
I got a question. Why are we even talking about this shit? That's the real question.
Talking point smash. That's why we talking about it.
Trying to make sense out of insanity. I guess.
I don't focus too much on the African Americans. We gotta give them a break because like y'all just papping them up, jabbing them up. I think it's quite unfair.
Man.
It's quite unfair. You know who should get some smoke? I don't know if y'all heard this. There's like a beef between like Haitians and Dominicans over like water rights over a canal border, right?
Really?
That is between two Black people fighting.
Yeah, but
the Black folks
people
self-hating and the Black folks who understand.
Yeah. And here's a crazy thing, right? These are Black folks who went out of their way to dilute themselves. So if they want to do that, by all means, like extract yourself, like change it. I'm not including you on the team, whatever. Fuck you. I appreciate the fact that you don't want to be Black, right? More room for me.
I'll take this back. I would say I'd rather have Dominicans than these native Black Americans. Because at least some of these Dominicans will acknowledge they got African.
Yeah, but they're pretend Spanish though. That's the crazy thing. But it is what it
Yeah.
is. But the thing is, like, I have beef with like Haitians because, like, as this shit was going on, right? I'm going through TikTok, and the main topic, it's not even talking about like policy papers or anything like that. These niggas is talking about, I don't know, I don't get it. It's like they got infected with the woo woo spirituality. We was kings bullshit, and one of the talking points is about dating Dominican women. I'm like, nigga, you are talking about some kind of international conflict between your country and somebody else's, and you talking about fucking other hoes from that country. Like, that's how unserious you are. And we're talking about Haitians here whose ancestors put in work, and these niggas talking about fucking.
Yeah, I made that point years ago. It's like they say that we can't go overseas and establish a nation, but we can go overseas for some ass.
Yeah,
Real quick, yo.
You can,
like,
establish.
you literally have a nation that's right there, right? And you can't even think about like not getting some pussy over like just building your own shit, building your own castle just to attract the pussy. You can do that. Just be pragmatic.
You can establish some dick. You can establish that. Anyway, what's up, Jason?
Peace, fam. How are you?
Peace.
Hey, Jason, what's up, man?
Hey, I just saw a comment, and one of the guys was saying that the FBA ADOS conversation is driving a rift between us and returning in Africa. I just wanted to ask how so.
Yeah.
Just for conversation's sake, I don't understand that comment. How is a conversation about American politics affecting us going back to the continent?
Well, I think
it doesn't.
For me, it doesn't affect us. The people who've made their mind up, it hasn't affected us. But unfortunately, I guess he's addressing the fact that there's a lot of backwards, ignorant people who get attracted to that stuff. But it really don't have nothing to do with us. So I see the point. It has nothing to do with us. Because there's people that's flat earthers. They believe the earth is flat. I mean, what does that have to do with us when you think about it? You know, I guess they're just lucky that they on the light side of the earth.
Well, I mean, the earth, the earth could spin or it could flip. We don't know, right? We don't know if it's just spinning top side up like a pizza, or we don't know if it's spinning sideways where it's just going light and dark. We don't know.
The earth is like that ride at Coney Island.
What, the cyclone?
Yeah. The thing that just spins around.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The scrambler, whatever the hell it's called, yo.
I'm surprised we haven't spun off this pitch.
Yeah, it's one of the things that it doesn't affect us, but it's frustrating, and it's like you're constantly reminded of the fact that our people focus on some of the most irrelevant stuff to make a big deal out of. We will make big deals out of Keke Palmer, which again, I don't mind people talking about Keke Palmer. Congratulations to her. She's doing her thing, but she's doing her thing. And let that be it. We'll spend so much time focused on what's going on with Krishan and not focusing on stuff that actually matters. Like, are we focusing on semiconductor production? Are we focused on, the upcoming technological singularity, which we've done a video on, the fourth industrial revolution, what that entails? We're not having these conversations. It's always on stuff that's irrelevant, stuff that means absolutely nothing, and stuff that's really begging. It's like we will have a whole convention, like a foundational Black American convention. Like, why? Why? Like, who cares? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. The foundational Black American convention.
Yes, that's Tariq. Tariq had a whole conference. It was called the
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Foundational Black American Conference, and everybody was like you had, I think, like there was a professor who did Hidden Colors was there, Boyce Watkins was there, and a couple other people were there. And it's like, this is what we're doing conferences on stuff that's not going to get us nowhere, where when we come out the conference, it's like all that energy gets sucked out, like the Million Man March.
Yeah.
I wonder how
Uh,
much of
Big up
that
panel.
they
Greetings.
I don't know about that.
Greetings, panel.
reading.
But hey, greetings, fam.
The
Greetings.
intelligentsia, the black intelligentsia, international.
I can't say that nothing would come out of it. I mean, I do think that we need to reestablish our our own, political agenda. I mean, we talk about during the civil rights movement. I mean, black people actually had an agenda. We had a focus. Nowadays, people are just all, everybody out for self. So I can't necessarily say the FBA conference is a bad thing. It just really depends on, what's focused on and what's implemented during that. But as far as
Yeah.
us reestablishing our identity, and the BIL has had this conversation many times as far as establishing our own versus integrating or being absorbed by Africans. I mean, we have our own identity, so I can't necessarily say that the FBA idea is a bad thing in that sense.
Would you agree, listening to what you were saying, that the solution would be a plan, a specific plan to address the actual problem? Because I know many people meet together to talk about the problems, but they don't actually have a plan, a counter plan to white supremacy. So that would focus all these meetings you've been talking about and these conferences, if somebody was presenting an actual plan.
Well, I mean, you can't present a plan unless everybody can identify the problem. I mean, you got a lot of people who
Yes.
don't have a problem with where we are. Like this stream. They're Native Americans. They want to be here. So, those, first of all, you got to identify who is who. If
Right,
people
right,
want
right,
if people want to identify as Native Americans, hey man, do you? If you want to identify as FBA, okay, do you? But those two people can't be in the same room fighting over the same, human resource. People got to
right,
remember that,
right,
there's a fight for human capital as much as it is for land and infrastructure.
right, right.
I mean,
So therefore,
the
is it
human
true?
capital fight, you can see that every day with people who don't want us to go back to Africa, or even, nowadays what's popular is the passport bros. People don't want the passport bros to leave because that's a human resource leaving the so-called community that people want to use. So
Right,
there's
right,
there's a human resource fight of the mind before there's even a fight over, where we're going to be in the land and the infrastructure.
right, right. So would you see that? Would you agree with me that there's basically two camps? There are those that are trying to get a better share within this world, or within this, improve their status within the established system, and there are those that see the solution as being able to form a sovereign autonomous entity with which to generate power to receive justice. So I imagine people that say foundation Black American, well, we're American and this is America, so we need our fair share of this infrastructure been invented called America. We want our fair share of America. Whilst there's others are saying, look, America is white supremacist, it's built on that. We have to come out and build something else and extract what we deserve from the entity called America.
So what was your question again?
Yeah, which
The specific
do you
question?
see those two positions, and which one of those positions does the panel or each of the panel see themselves?
Uh, Anybody else can go first. I got an idea, but I don't want to go first. Anybody
You
want to
want
take
to
that
handle
one?
that, Ronan?
Do you want me to say it again?
No, no, no. I know you're asking the whole panel, so we're just gonna go one at a time, I guess.
All right.
Well, I'll go since I'm speaking. My position is very, like, I believe in the KISS theory. Keep it simple, stupid. It's like when you're on the plane and the mask come down, you got to put the mask on yourself first before you worry about everybody else.
Okay.
So the solution to me is really simple: is embracing what we already have. Our ancestors already did the work for us, and it's called Liberia. So all these people who saying that they're nationalists need to embrace Liberia, and the people who saying that they're foundational Black Americans need to embrace their Native American culture. They need to claim. I don't understand why they're calling themselves foundational Black Americans. Just call yourself the tribe that you came from here in America.
Oh, hold up. I think that's two different things. I think FBAs are descendants of slaves, not the ones who are claiming Native American.
But where did they come? All right, see, that's what's confusing to me because FBA, from what I know, they don't embrace Africa. They're saying that we didn't come from Africa, right?
Oh, okay, that was not my understanding of it, but maybe I'm wrong.
There
Yeah,
are
I didn't
some.
understand it.
There are FBA people who do not claim we come from Africa. They say we're indigenous
Oh, okay, that's new to me.
America. They say our history started in 1526 when this man. Yeah, that's what they'll say. Like it said it on the website. He said, "I believe that it said FBA started when back like this man whose name was Vasco from Spain took some black people, brought them into St. Augustine, Florida, and then they assimilated into Native American culture."
Well, I don't understand that. Okay, so then it really doesn't make sense to me because how can you be black? Blackness is a construct that was made by slave owners. So if you're foundational Native American, then you're not black.
That's right.
Listen, I can simplify it for you. I can
I don't
simplify it for you. I can simplify it for you, right? Last night I went to see Expendables 4, right? You don't go to that movie turning your brain on, trying to apply logic to that shit. You understand? So it's the same thing when it comes to these like black people pretending to be whatever Native Americans. You just turn your brain off, accept that bullshit, accept the bad writing, accept the bad idea, and just move on. Like it's better if you experience it while high, honestly. But you don't apply no logic to it.
I'm in the same camp.
It's like you say our ethnic group started when a Spanish explorer brought black people over from where? You said
right.
from where? Where did these
Yeah,
black people come from? You said these
that's
people.
the
Where
that's
did
the
they
problem.
come?
That's where you're fucking
Because
up.
yeah,
You try to make sense of this thing. Stop trying.
yeah.
Right.
I'm in the same camp where Hollow is at. If black folks do not believe in self-preservation, black folks are well with all this intersectionality, all this other nonsense, doing coalition stuff like that. They're not thinking about themselves. And when you look at black folks here, and I've said this to other people tell me, I was like, look, when you walk into a Chinese restaurant, the maitre d' is Chinese. The person who's serving you, the waiter, he's Chinese. The people cooking your meal, they're Chinese. You're not even going there and thinking like, oh well, there's not enough diversity here. Yet
Yeah.
you can you get black folks, they'll go to a black restaurant, get in there, like, oh, I like this, but it needs to be more diverse. Why? Why?
Mhm.
No one is
Because
concerned about themselves. It should be thinking about yourselves. You can't complain. You got black folks here complaining about people from Central South America, complaining about Asian Americans, complaining about stuff like that. They all have
Yeah.
something that I want. And me and Howard talk about this ad nauseum.
Right.
From a sports background, I'm only interested in one thing. I'm interested in winning.
Right.
There is no trophy for participation. They don't interview the team who loses. Oh, yo, guess what? Hey, Buffalo Bills, you just lost 52-17. Where are you going? Just back to the drawing board because we got stomped. And black folks are here getting stomped, wasting their time talking about being Native Americans, going around saying silly nonsense, FBA, this, and that. Yet we are getting laughed at. They don't even understand what white. Even that they sit here, they talk about. There should not even be a live stream on white supremacy. Should be 5 minutes. That's it. Not an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 6, 7, 8 hours. 5 minutes. The conqueror. He whooped your ass. He brought you here. He beat you down mentally. He beat you down physically, mentally, physically, enslaved you, made you hate where you come from. And then you've gone on these different tangents about this, and that. Yet the rest of the world is lapping us, laughing at us, getting rich off our music, getting rich off our culture, getting rich off what the designs we come out with, and yet we're not benefiting from it. And what we are doing within the group is like, you know what? With the BIO, Liberia is the starting point. It's the origin starting point for us. We need to build that up and turn that into Vietnam, Singapore, looking like some of the cities in China, like Shanghai. You should be winning the game, not begging the conqueror, maintain my infrastructure, do this, do this, do this. You can't have this curriculum in school. You can have it. Control every facet of society, and you ain't got to worry about it. And then you want respect. You build your nation, you build up your military, you control the politics, you control the education, you control every facet of society. And if you to protect yourself from being destroyed, you get yourself a nuclear weapon. You know, ally yourself with countries that have nuclear weapons, and then maybe they'll leave you the F alone. That's just my take, how I see it.
Yeah, bro, you mic drop.
Minister.
What else is there to say after that, son?
Well, I got a couple things. You know that along those lines, though, you got to convince people that they're not. You said that we're not getting anything out of it, but it's a lot of people who think they are getting something out of it because they actually identify with the dominant society. One of the things about the diversity stuff that you brought up, diversity is literally something that the white supremacists had to put in to keep people from going crazy. One of the reasons the United States doesn't have as many like civil uprisings and coups and stuff like that is because they throw out just enough tokenism, which I call it. Other people call it diversity. I just call it tokenism. But if you throw out enough tokenism and enough lottery tickets, you can keep people from rioting and standing up.
Yeah.
So if you got enough black people who have, I guess call it Stockholm syndrome, but I mean they've taken on the white guilt, the white imperialism of the United States, and said, hey, we got to do it diversity and inclusion because the white people need it so we can keep the peace. That's why they say shit like that. But like you said, if you wanna have your own, first you got to convince that your own is something different than what we have here in the United States. And I see that in Africa, man. I have arguments all the time about with people from Kenya and Uganda, some people that I know personally and their friends. I don't know their friends personally, but I know them. And they people talk about living a good life and they need to do this and do that, but their definitions of a good life is based on what they learned from fucking white colonialism. So if you're always judging yourself from a white standard, you're never gonna stand up and want your own shit. Because you don't even have a definition of your own shit.
I'd like to enter the conversation, if I could, about what is the use or why the FBA thing is harmless. See, I was a part of the movement for 30 some odd years, and I got children. And one thing I do know is that it doesn't matter if I've never met my son or my daughters, they are going to do certain things that I did based on DNA. So if I am attending conferences that don't mean shit to nobody about FBA, Foundational Black Americans, this, that, and the next thing, my children will come up with that same distraction also. And this is the number one reason why we don't have a second and third generation of people in the movement, because our children saw us wasting time and they decided they didn't want no parts of that.
Yeah.
So when you attend a conference by a known charlatan, being Tariq Nasheed, a grifter who has taken millions of dollars and hasn't done shit with it, and you're saying that you're doing something by attending this conference, and you got children, and you go back to your children and you tell them, I attended the FBA conference or whatever, what do you think they're going to do?
Right.
They're going to grow up thinking wasting their time is the right thing to do, because you go through different, in my judgment, you go through different stages of maturity in the movement. When you're younger, you're a radical dude that wants to clap everything and kill everything, and just this could be over if we just killed everybody. When you get to the middle stage of it, you start growing and you realize you need coalition. When you get to
Right.
the older stage of it, what you realize is it's the legacy of it, and you got to now shape policy.
Right.
So the men that's on this conference and the women that's in the comments, they are people who understand legacy. We have all been a part of this movement for so long. We're tired of the bullshit.
Yeah.
And I think it was Big Brother Darius that mentioned the Million Man March. Those of us who were at the Million Man March, because I was there, I was a lieutenant that day, first officer. Those of us who were there, we witnessed a million-man distraction. We
Oh
saw
my.
all those people come together in Washington and nothing come from it. And so think about that, because then our children saw that and their children will see that. And they'll say, Daddy, was you at the Million Man March? And I'll be like, oh, Grandpa, was you at? I'll be like, yeah. What did y'all do with that? And I'm going to say,
Oh my.
nothing, nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
therefore, how much longer will we continue to invest in these things that don't do nothing for us before we understand that the final solution is a nation of your own off the shores of America in the land of our ancestors? How many more different movements are going to come out before we understand that? Because think about it this way, and I'm going to shut up in a minute. You look at the Black Lives Matter thing. The youth jumped on that because that was good for them. They was able to show up when they felt like it, go home when they felt like it. They was able to be themselves but still be a part of it. And then at the end of it, what did you find out? You found out that the heads of it was taking the money and they bought their own $1 million condos and shit like that. So what does that do to those men and women who are part of that movement? It gives them despair and it kills their hope. Then they have children, and their children are born out of that despair and that hope. And so I remember talking to a Hebrew Israelite a couple of years ago, and they said to me that basically what they felt was we are the descendants. A lot of us are descendants of the slaves, not who fought back, but who bitched out. And when I first heard that, I was offended. But over the course of time, as an older man, I realized I think that they was right for some of us. But the bigger question or the bigger conversation is this: if these people like Tariq, Jason Black, or whatever, they keep coming up with this distractionary movements, and the youth keep buying into it, after a while, people just get tired because they're like, y'all keep trying, and everybody's trying to rob us, steal from us, or basically distract us. And after a while, everybody quits. So the reason why we're so hard against these movements is because we understand the legacy ramifications. And the legacy ramifications are basically that if we continue to do these distraction movements and they fail, what are the youth going to think? What is the second, third, fourth, fifth generation going to think? Because in the field or the nationality of Judaism, they got third, fourth, fifth, sixth generation people that still claim loyalty to Israel. You know what I'm saying? Because they have a solid continent of their own that is being supported by national powers. And if we can get that message to the youth and even people who have quit, that would be to me the best course of action. But to see all of these different things pop up from these charlatans that are just trying to make money, you're following a dude who says that he was a pimp before, and now all of a sudden he's concerned about black people. And the bottom line of that is every time one of these dudes fail, or you say, see, just like my mother and father's movement, this shit don't work. I might as well just go after the bag. I can't blame the youth for being the way they are. I really can't, because it's our fault, because we allowed so many years of wasting time to go by that now they're looking at us, they're saying, yeah, Dad, that's okay. But I'm going, this is what happened on Sunday when my son got to be 15 years old. Yo, son, you coming to the temple today? Nah, Dad, I'm going to play basketball. That's what started happening. I raised him in that religion, bro. I raised him in that movement. And at 15, he decided to go. So then at some point, I was like, yo, how come you don't come to the temple no more? He said, well, on Sundays, Dad, somebody always got something else to do. So he didn't want to come right out and tell me, Dad, what you're doing is bullshit and the time has left for it and I'm not interested no more. He didn't want to come out and tell me that because that's my son and he loves me. But that is exactly what's in his heart. That is exactly what's in his heart. And I can't blame him for that. I got to blame us for that.
Mhm.
So if anybody's
I'll
got a
never.
conference
Can I
call
ask you a
and you got
question?
children, sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I heard that Liberia um, has had to make some changes because um, other people were coming in and claiming Liberian citizenship. Therefore, Liberian was losing its value in blackness or black Africanness. So other people were coming in and trying to claim Liberian citizenship. So somehow it's lost its original um, black African focus. Is that true? And then we can go a bit discuss a bit further after
Yeah,
that.
so answer your question, that happened in the early 19th century. So what happened was originally in the Liberian Constitution and in the 1847 Constitution, it said people of color were originally could only be citizens. Of course, people of color, that can mean any non-white person. That could be, Indians, that could be Syrians,
Right, right,
Lebanese. So what happened is Liberia changed people of color to Negro, which is still in the Constitution today, which states that only people who are black and of black descendants can be citizens. So it's
right.
still there today.
As it
So,
So
so
should be.
go
right.
ahead.
So that's solid. Yeah, that's
Yes,
solid. Blackness
you
is
can't.
protected. Correct.
Yes, you can't. Yeah, you can't be a citizen if you're not black, and you can't own land if you're not a citizen. So only black people can own land, vote, and be citizens in the country.
Good,
That's how
good,
it
good.
should be.
Right,
Here's
right.
It should be like that for every country in the goddamn continent. It should be like that.
That's
Exactly.
here's the
right.
major question. Here's the major question. What does it matter? What does it matter? What we're trying to do is we're trying to access a certain part of their of what they have to offer for us. If we unite and come together with something strong enough to go over there, nothing that they're doing matters because what we intend to do is control our own territory. So even if they do have some kind of selling out or whatever the hell they have, it doesn't really matter to us. What matters,
Mhm.
and I've heard this a long time ago, it doesn't matter what the enemy does, it matters what you do.
Right,
Yep.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
right,
And Sun
right.
Hmm.
Tzu said what? Sun Tzu said, before you assess the enemy, make sure you assess yourself. So the
And I,
bottom line is that what matters is what we're trying to do, what
yeah,
we're trying to put together. And if we get enough strong minds and enough gifted and talented minds, and we get enough money, none of that shit's gonna matter. Because
yeah,
the bottom line is when China goes into Africa, they don't give a fuck who's doing what. They know we got the money, we got the resources. Will you give us some land? And
Okay.
that's just the
I,
bottom
can I,
line.
yeah.
Go on.
I speak to Dawood. Peace, brother, peace. Um, you're right on the money with that, and actually, I think you are actually addressing something that you just said earlier about um, attending these conferences and these movements. I don't. It's one. I think it's one thing to say. That the conferences are not bringing any fruit, but I also want to just caution that to say that you got to remember that we are people with lost identity. So let's just say Sam's that if we don't have anything, then our identity will just be gone. I think for if it, when you look at like you said the state of Israel, when you look at the Jews, before the state of Israel was established, and with the Theodore Herzl and
Hmm.
um, the Jews used to still meet together and try to establish their identity before even the nation state was built. And even
100%.
when I'm sorry,
100%.
yeah,
Yes.
and even before they established the state of Israel and they got offered land in well, I guess it was modern Kenya or Uganda, and the people said no, and you had people like Theodore Herzl basically saying what you just said, minister. He was saying about his own people that, man, we meeting and we ain't getting shit done, we need to get the fuck out of here. And it wasn't until they there were a certain set of Jewish people, just like how we can be that certain set of the BIO that just finally say, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna go over here to Palestine. We don't care if it's Muslims over here. We just gonna go over here and set up shop, and then eventually people will follow.
Yep.
So I don't necessarily just like you were saying, minister, it doesn't really, not only does it not matter what's going on in Liberia, but to a certain extent I don't think it really matters if if people are having these FBA conferences and stuff, I mean, whatever. That
Yeah.
shouldn't stop us from trailblazing. And then, because all in all, even these FBA conferences, at least people are coming together and claiming that they have a shared identity. No matter what, if any action doesn't come from it, the one thing we cannot afford is to lose our identity.
Hmm.
And if these conferences are at least keeping people together, I mean, you look at us, growing up, you know, look at your son, like you said, what's your son raised in the nation. He didn't go to the temple, but at the same time, he still knows that he is part of that upbringing. He may not see any direct result of it, but at the same time he does know he has um, brothers and sisters and an identity over there. And then
Hmm.
ultimately, when something, the trailblazers bring something tangible to them, then they'll be ready. But we don't want to go blaze the trail and then we come back and say, hey, we built it, and the people don't even have the mindset to come.
Yep.
Well, I would
I
argue
can
this
I
though,
say
bro.
something?
Just one real quick run, and then I would argue this though. I think that movements like that are raising enemies for us, because every time I turn around, there's some FBA person challenging why y'all want to go to Africa. You want to take everybody to Africa? The same stupid shit they've been saying to us for the last 10, 15 years. So every time some new organization comes up and says, no, it's not about Africa. We're Indians. What y'all talking about? They're
Yeah.
raising and breeding enemies for what we're trying to do.
Well,
And
I'm
it's
I'm,
like,
I'm tracking with you, brother. I'm just saying this. Those enemies already exist. I,
no, this
I
is
I
true.
I
This
would
is true.
disagree that they are new, because even when we go back to the Clinton administration, you had, or just shit, going back to slavery, you have white people who don't want us to leave. I always have this argument with white
Yeah.
people. You
Mhm.
get these motherfuckers talking about y'all need to go back to Africa and this shit. Well, we would have been gone if y'all haven't spent the
Listen,
last 400
Jake.
years trying to keep us in this bitch.
Listen.
Y'all
I made a whole Twitter thread about that. How white people would lynch black people whenever they started talking about going back to Africa and we tired of America. The white folks would be saying, "Why you upset at America and you don't
Jabari.
need to go back to
Hey, look,
Africa?"
Jabari, you had motherfuckers shooting slaves in their backs in the Atlantic Ocean as they tried to swim out to the British ships leaving after the Revolutionary War. People was trying to leave this motherfucker with the British, and you had the white people trying to keep us here.
Because
So no, let me just address Minister. I want to let Minister go,
okay,
but I agree with you, bro. But I just kind of disagree that we're building new enemies, because I think it's already there.
They've always been
I
here.
think it's already
Yeah.
there, bro.
No, but
They've
that
always
wasn't really what I was saying. I wasn't saying, I was agreeing with you, but I wasn't saying
Yeah.
we have new enemies. What I'm saying is every time a new movement come up, you refresh the bullshit. You understand what I'm saying? You refresh
I
The
hear what
you
you're saying.
refresh you refresh the
F
bullshit. But either way, it is what it is. I just think that for me, that I okay, so let me just give you my background real quick. I have been helping people since I was young. You know what I'm saying? I do domestic violence class, relationship consultation, all that stuff. I'm a child of domestic violence. And so I care about what happens to people. I really do. And I being a part of a movement that, let's just be very honest with it, became a cult. I understand the hurt and the pain of people who spend years in something and then find out that it wasn't what they thought it was. You understand what I'm saying?
True.
I literally just got off the phone with somebody before I got on this conference call that I used to be in the nation with, and we're both like really just trying to play catch up and build our lives, because we was part of something that took all of our life, and we weren't able to work on our finances, 401k, and all that other stuff. There's hundreds of thousands of people in America like that, bro, that gave their lives to movements like that and really believed in them, only to find out that what those promises that those movements was making was empty promises and built off enriching the leaders. So
Understood.
we can say things like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's giving them consciousness. But to be down with any of these movements, you got to give two precious resources. You got to give your time and you got to give your money. And if you look at the divorce rates in these movements, it's very high because it's demanding the man to be out there or to be at these conferences or to be on these phone calls or to be on these podcasts or whatever they're asking you to do. And you can't really function in a family setting, and you can't really do for your family because your money is going in. It's like a devoted woman in the Christian church giving more than 10% of her tithes.
So you just look, minister. You just said what I was about to say. I don't rebut what you're saying. All I'm saying is everything that you says applies baseline to Black life in America. We give ourselves to a lie just being alive here.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
So
This is what we're trying to
so
correct.
all I'm saying is it's up to us to just keep doing what we do so we can show somebody better. It's no reason for us to waste our energy being upset at it, because we can be here all day and talk about FBA, we can talk about Christianity, we can talk about just being Black in America, we could talk about atheism, whatever. None of it is working for us. So
Right.
instead of getting mad about it, let's just focus on what we can do better. It's no even reason to give energy to that.
I think you're both saying the same thing, actually.
We
That's right.
are. We absolutely are.
Can I
absolutely
say something? I just want to make a point.
Mhm.
And Ronan probably, because me and him talk a lot, so he'll understand where I'm going with this. If I'm playing for the New York Giants, I really don't care what the New England Patriots are doing. So I'm not concerned about, like I said, if you want to be Native American, fine. If you want to be FBA, fine. You want to be ADOS, fine. It doesn't really matter, because there's enough of us who believe in what we believe in to make shit happen.
Facts.
That's so the big problem is not them. The problem is the people who's on our side who ain't with us, who ain't doing shit, who's still talking.
Right.
We have the infrastructure in place right now for people that's really about this.
Can I ask about the
And
infrastructure?
I noticed that they still talking and still analyzing and still decoding and still breaking down white supremacy.
Huh. So this infrastructure, so the Black African Infrastructure Organization, does it have a focus on Sierra Leone or Liberia? Well, what is there a focus on a land base first?
We are dedicated to Liberia. That's why we have on our stream. It says Liberia.
Right.
We're working in Liberia right now. We have
Right.
things going on. I got my own personal things going on in Liberia.
Right. So
That's
and you
what
know Carla Genesis, yeah? You're the same team as
no, we
Carla
don't.
Genesis.
We
No,
don't.
hell to the no.
We
Oh,
don't.
no,
come on, man! What is
Oh
going
my
on
God.
here? I thought it's the same
I
team.
three black. I'm gonna send you a link that's gonna explain why we do not fool with him. We gonna put that link.
Man, oh
Hold
man! I
on.
thought, wow! I saw the logo. Yeah, I thought back
No,
into
no,
yeah. This is the same team as Carla Genesis. Yeah, let's hear what
no,
they're saying.
no. Hell
No,
Oh
no.
we're not
man,
doing
I
that.
thought
Hell to the
yeah,
no.
this whole team's strong, man.
No,
No,
this
we
Oh,
one,
got
no.
nothing.
Can I say something?
no.
You're not the only. And listen, you're not the only one that's gotten confused. We've had people who are in our organization that
I'm on the
have
line,
gotten
bro.
confused
Hey,
with
Hollop,
college.
tell him.
Oh man.
Like
Look,
we have had people who are in our organization that got confused with thing because he uses
All right,
our name.
clarify.
I
Clear
am.
my
Look, I don't
confusion.
use my
Clear
alias
my
anymore.
confusion.
I don't use my alias anymore. But Hollop knows who I am. Hollop knows what name I used to use in the old BAL. And I'm married. I have an ex-wife now. I married a Kenyan. I had moved to Kenya. I was doing some things with the BAL. Things kind of fell apart, and then the whole confusion about Kala made me step away. So yes, there were people in the organization. There's a rift in the organization. So no, brother, it's not the same as Kala, but
All right, then,
the
I'm
spirit.
not going to ask you
Yeah.
to go into the details between the difference between
Yo,
you and Carla. Let's
is
focus
Ronan
on
there?
solutions.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm
focus.
here.
Let Ronan talk.
Done.
Yeah. First of all, with College Genesis has nothing to do with this BIO. He is a fraud. Plain and simple. There's no need to go into a deep dive. He doesn't represent what we represent. Everything. He is a charlatan. He's no different than the Tariq Nasheed and these other people and stuff like that. That's
Oh
plain
man.
and simple.
Oh
In
dear.
the sword. Within now, touching on a different subject, and I have nothing but respect for the minister always, because it's good to hear him. I got respect for Jason, stuff like that. And I give you credit, brother, because you are more empathetic than I am. I am. Halib knows how I am. Jabari knows how I am. The minister knows how I am. There comes a point with these different groups to be out what we're doing is different than anyone else. These groups can do whatever the hell they want to do, and that's fine. But when I look at it, I look at it from a straight line. When you look at European Jewish people, what they have, it took them 12 years of getting their asses handed to them by the Nazi regime. 12 years. And they have a nation state. 12 years. Black folks have
Right.
been in this country since 1526, 497 years. And they're wasting their time with FBA, running around pretending that they're Native Americans, they're this, they're that, they're Klingons, they're goddamn whatever they want to be, and yet you're collectively getting smoked. And there has
Right.
to come a point where it has to stop.
Right.
And for me personally, and people, I have people can get on me about this. Oh, you sound mad. You should. Why shouldn't I?
Right.
Me, Holla, in the same age group, the minister, anyone who's on this call, especially if you live here in the United States, your parents, if you're old enough, you're in your 40s, your 50s, your parents, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, your great grandparents dealt with Jim Crow segregation, getting lynched, everything that you dealt with. And yet you're going to come up with all these different ideas to make excuses to stay here. Yet these people don't study history. They don't study world history. They want to go deep into white psychology. All you got to do is read about white history, world history. That is your psychology. The
Yeah.
Roman Empire will go to different countries, barter with people, make these little deals, and after a while realize that what they want, they're going to take it. And what do? They kill all the people who are against them, all the men, the sons who will fight against them. And those who are left over, they bring them back to the empire, teach them how to think like Romans, send them back to their country to be vassals for them. So that country will be a part of the Roman Empire. And who suffers? The people. And
Yes,
when you
sir.
see the Congressional Black Caucus, you see FBA, all these other nonsense, they are sent there, as far as I'm concerned, they are a waste of time. Vassals, the Congressional Black Caucus, whatever and stuff like that. They're not interested in winning, period. And just like how I've said, the only time you're interested, if you're an athlete, you're playing for a specific team, the only time you're worried about that team is when you have to play them. You got to do your scout report, see what they're going to do, and then you figure out what they do, and then you destroy them on the field and you move to the next team to get what you need. The goal is simple: to win, to have something that we need. And if these people want to come on board with us, they come on board with us. And I said I'm not as empathetic, and I give you credit because I'm not, because I have gotten to the point that my empathy is almost nil. Are you
Well,
with us or you against us? They want to go there and have their meetings and have whatever, smell each other's farts and do whatever hell they want to do. Fine. And we don't spend a lot of time really. I mean, we were laughing and joking and stuff like that. We don't do live streams kicking dirt on what FBA is doing or stuff like that. This is just something that came up. We don't spend a lot of time on that. We're trying to reach like-minded individuals who have had it,
yeah.
Right.
and they should be looking at, you know what? You got these people who talk about they love Malcolm X. It's like, you don't, as far as I'm concerned, these people say they love Malcolm X, they love Kwame Ture, stuff like that. You don't deserve the nods that they gave you because you don't believe anything that they said. You don't believe in anything. If half the black folks in this country listened to what Malcolm X was talking about in the first place, they wouldn't even be in the situation. They created Hollab, they created the minister, they created me, they created Jabbar, they created every single person's on this call. They failed us. They failed us. They failed Malcolm. They failed Amos Wilson. They failed John Henry Clark. They failed Frantz Fanon. They failed all of them. They created us. And that is a problem. And I cannot be a party with these individuals and try to. If you have to if you lead the horse to water, he don't want to drink, then there's nothing you can do about it. He wants to die thirsty, die thirsty. But don't
Can I ask
complain
another
about
question?
Well,
Go ahead.
can I respond to that before you ask a question, brother?
Yes.
That's my brother.
Go ahead, Jess.
And this is not an argument. This is just an observation of the conversation. The reason I have a certain level of empathy is just because of what you said. When you talked about how the Romans go out and create vassals. They conquer, then they train, then send those people back. You don't even have to go back into history for that. We can look at African nations now and see that all of these presidents and prime ministers are being educated in Europe,
Yes,
and then they
agree
go back to their
100%.
country. They go right back to their countries and bring that. Now, the thing that's so tragic about us as Black Americans is we have the same thing, but it's on steroids because we don't even come from another place to get educated and sent back. We're literally grown, bred, and raised in being educated by the white people. So
Right.
that's just
True.
why I have a little bit of empathy. Just if other people just aren't where we are,
Right.
because they don't know. All of the other. We could talk about how other nations are conquered, but at least those nations started with something. But we can't even point to where we started from because we
Agree.
have that history of slavery.
So
Yeah, I'm not.
so
I'm not. I'm not
Well,
against you at
can
all.
I?
I'm just. I wanted to just point that out, Jason. That, like I said, I wanted to commend you on your empathy, man. It's something that brothers and
commend
sisters do
you.
not do. They do not do it. That's something I'm being completely honest with you, man. I'm all about honor and respect. Harlem knows that. The minister knows that. Jabbar knows that. I'm always been about that.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to commend. I'm not trying to argue with anything because I
No, no,
agree with
no,
a lot
man.
of
It's
the
love,
stuff
bro.
you said.
I
Yeah,
just say
it's
it's
all
just a
love.
conversation. It's just a
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah.
I just want to say something just to clarify. I have a tremendous amount of empathy for the average Black person. When I talk about FBA and ADOS, I'm talking about people who are intentionally opposite what we're trying to do. I have zero empathy for them.
Mm.
Zero. But the average Black person, they can easily come to our side. Easily. All we have to do is produce something. Produce tangible, concrete results, and they will come to our side. That's the reason why I'm not too concerned about FBA. FBA, you won't hear about them until the next presidential election. Because that's usually when they pop up.
Right.
So they can tell us, oh, Kamala Harris ain't Black. It's like, okay, wow. So that's your agenda. I'm not concerned about them because they're not busting no grapes. They're not doing anything. And we are doing tangible, concrete things, and people will find out about them soon enough. It's actually
So
they can find out about it now if they were actually interested in it.
so okay. So so this Black African Infrastructure Organization. And I've heard quite a few of you mentioned what the Zionists did. So I want to see how what we're doing, how it can fit in. It appears to be the same as what the Black African Infrastructure is doing, but I want to see if there's any difference in what we're doing, and then we can clear things up. So okay, so our model is basically a version, an adaptation of what the Zionist model was. So basically, it's a group of people, and this is how I imagine the Black African infrastructure is a group of people organize themselves, and they don't actually have the land yet. So the Zionists, they're just a group of Jewish people got together, then called themselves the Jews, and then said that they're representing all Jews. Okay. So maybe some Jews never even heard of them, but that's how they represent themselves. They say, we're representing all Jews, and we are get together to get the land of Israel as a homeland for all Jews. Right. So they haven't got the land yet, but they have the organization. And then with that organization, they start lobbying the British government. Very smart move, actually. And what they did, they lobbied the British government, and just to get the British government to make a declaration. So all it is a piece of paper. All we want is the British government to declare on paper that they view with favor the establishment of a homeland for the Jewish people. Just a piece of paper. So once they get that Balfour, you know already, the Balfour Declaration. It's a declaration, yes, of the government. Then they can use that piece of paper and march into Israel and then start setting up shop. And if you start to resist what the Zionists are doing, they can then wave the piece of paper and say, hey, if you go against us, you're going against the British government. So
I would just say my response to that would be, I understand, of course, there's a lot of similarities. Theodore Herzl said, one time in a quote, I hope the American Negro gets his homeland as well. I just
did he say
caution
that? I didn't know. I didn't know.
Yeah, he was quoted as saying that. I would just caution us using Liberia and Israel. One is because we've always had the land. In the case of Liberia, we established that in 1821 with the local leaders there, the King Peters, Long Peters, Zoda, Governor, and Jimmy. And in the treaty, it said they lived in friendship forever. So we already they recognized us as being their brothers and sisters, as King Peter said when we came in 1821. So I would just say for us, we don't even have to worry about, we don't have the land. We have the land.
Right.
We have the country, Liberia.
Right.
As a matter of fact, Jewel Taylor said, the connection between us and Black Americans is blood ties. And she said, I wonder why Black Americans don't come to Liberia as the way they come to Ghana. So for us, it's really just a matter of just coalescing all the Black people who believe that African Americans should have a nation state and just organizing us around that country that we already have. It's like a rally around the flag type model. We're coalescing all the Black nationalist groups, us who want to work with the BIO, who got similar vision as us, and we're just building in Liberia the infrastructure needed.
Okay. So there. Okay, good. That's like a step forward. Yeah, beyond what the Zionists have, because you actually have land there. So therefore, what is the most? Then the discussion then goes into what is the most effective way to organize Black Africa and the Black African diaspora into a power block.
Getting involved.
Yep, that's the thing.
It's too. I see. I'm personally, and I'm sorry. This doesn't require a lot of analyzing for me. It's real fucking simple.
Correct.
Get your ass involved.
Okay.
If we already have a movement of people doing something, get involved in the movement. It's too much.
Right.
It's too much critiquing. It's too much decoding. We're overcomplicating this shit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How about mixed Black people, mixed race people?
Brother Hollip, brother Jabari, this is Brother Sankofa. I just joined. I'd like to say something, please.
Sure. Go ahead, brother.
Peace, bro.
Peace, beloved. I'm going to start off. This is going to sound a little immodest. This is the first time I've ever called into the show. I've been watching the show for years. Brother Hollip, I want to start off giving flowers. And I'm I'm not trying to skew from the conversation, but I think it's germane to give a little bit of my background. So, admittedly, I first heard of the BAIO from when you guys were on Blog Talk Radio, Brother Hollip, with Joe Jameson.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I heard that from the brother. That was the funniest. And I remember it was his show, and then you came in and started speaking, brother Hollip, and immediately I lit up I'm like, whoa, who's this cat? And I started following you, and I've been tracking all the stuff that's gone on since. And I want to also mention Brother Dawood, because like you guys, I'm 49 years old. I live in Long Beach, California. Been married 23 years. My wife and I have 3 beautiful children, growing daughter who's doing well, and we have 2 younger ones. I'm part of the BIO. I'm on the membership, and brother Hollip, for many years hearing you, watching listening to all the YouTube streams, and you would always browbeat us correctly, join. And then so I joined. I'm signed up there under Brother Sankofa. I don't mind giving my government name. but let me speak a little bit to this topic, because I want to speak to this topic. I made some notes because I don't want to just be babbling. I want to be succinct to what I'm trying to say. But
Come on
when
with
I
it, bro.
listen to you, yeah, when I listen to you, brother Holip and brother Dawood, we're peers. We're peers age-wise, and what we've been through in this movement. Because my dad, I was born in the U.S. Virgin Islands. My
Okay.
dad moved us to Long Beach, California when I was 15 years old. I went to a very famous high school, Long Beach Poly High School, where people know Snoop went. And in my senior year, the local Nation of Islam, they brought Dr. Khalid Muhammad to come and speak. And so there are
Oh,
two crossroads in my life that led me my trajectory that I've quote unquote been in this movement to different iterations for the, I'm about to be 50 in November, almost 33 years, because I was a 15-year-old boy 16-year-old when Dr. Khalid came to speak. The two biggest things was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, and that's true for many of us. That book changed the trajectory of many of our lives. And
indeed.
Dr. Khalid coming to speak. And Dr. Khalid is, I tell people, he was to the minister, to Ms. Farrakhan, what Malcolm was to Elijah Muhammad. He's the one
Right.
who brought me in. He is what motivated me. He was
Right.
an unabashed Pan-Africanist. He loved blackness. And all the critiques, Brother Dawood, specifically, and some others make of the NOI, I 1,000,000,000% agree with. That's why many brothers like myself, I am or was a registered member of the Nation of Islam. I soldiered for many years. And what Brother Dawood was speaking of earlier about, I was one of the brothers of the Million Man March, the original Million Man March in 1995, because the truth is they had subsequent ones, Million Family March, Millions More March. The real
Right.
original one, we were close to 2 million brothers. I was one of those brothers there at that time. My then girlfriend, who I met in college, now my wife for 22 years, I went with her father-in-law. And to your
Congratulations
point,
on that.
seeing that wasted energy,
Right.
and I could attest also to what Brother Dawood was speaking of earlier, when I absolutely embraced living a right life, saying I'm not, I wasn't a virgin at the time, but I stopped, I abstained, said I'm gonna not fornicate, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna follow the laws. And then the brother said, because you said, hey, you got to get married, cool, but
Right.
nobody in there is giving you any life cycle, any life or
Right.
education or skills. So how am I supposed to take care of a woman? I don't have any. I left college to quote unquote soldier,
Right.
and like
Right.
you, Brother Dawood, it was years later that I found my career path. Now let me speak about that, because that's why I joined up BIO. And let me say this, Brother Holip, and to you, Brother Dawood, but really to Brother Holip even more so. I need to give you your flowers, beloved, because like you, I've been part of the conscious community following the whole thing, particularly when it morphed from when I came into it in the movement in the late 80s, early 90s. We had study groups. So I hear you talk a lot about Brother Holip, the slave theater. So in Long Beach and LA, we had similar. We have similar. We have African study groups, and we have Cal State Long Beach, which is one of the foundational strongest BSUs historically, where we would do our annual Black Conscious Conference, and we would have all the heavyweights: Cress Welsing, Dr. Ben,
Wow.
Amos Wilson. I mean, there's a long, strong legacy here in Long Beach. I mean, Dr. Maulana Karenga. I mean, he's still an adjunct professor at Castle Long Beach. So there's a long history, even coming up till today. Past like 5 years ago, they had Boyce Watkins and Tariq
Right.
Nasheed, and I'm gonna get to that clown in a minute too, because I got some stuff I want to say, and I'm gonna give you brothers the floor. And because
Hey, bro.
Brother Holland, it's been years I've been wanting to say some of this stuff, and I've just been humble. And I think I represent a lot of members in the BIO or BIO affiliates. People, when I first heard your breakdown, Brother Holland, it was literally, let me give you your flowers. You were literally, to me, the most clearest, succinct political mind that we have birthed in a generation. And I mean that literally. Or you were the brothers who came with this burning trust for this idea.
Most times.
Because this is the idea that we needed to be birthed. The way you brother broken this simple solution, that I went, duh. Because brothers like myself, we've gone through everything. So again, the nation is one of my foundations. I don't call it my foundation because growing up in the Caribbean, the first access to what I would call Black liberation theology was Rastafarians, right? My older brother's a Rastafarian. I grew up with Bob Marley as part of my soundtrack, and Steve Austin and all that, along with hip hop and all that. We're part of the generation there from the birth of hip hop, conscious music, Brand Nubian, X Clan, Paris. Those were the foundational soundtracks of our upbringing. So that obviously shaped our mind state, right? And so Brother Dawood, I joined NOI. I soldiered, and I remember coming to the same thing, and many of us saying like, "Where we talk the rhetoric, nationhood, 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 but we're really a personality cult that's really not about that life." With all due
Exactly.
respect.
Exactly.
And so like many young brothers, I got disillusioned, and it's still love for many of the believers. Now, fast forward in 2008, during the Great Recession, my wife and I were struggling as a young couple with money, and like many, me trying to figure it out. My wife is, we're at the other end of our marriage now, not other end, let me clarify. We're at the other side, meaning our marriage is stronger than ever. Financially, we're in a completely different place. My wife is college professor. She has 2 masters, doing extremely well.
Beautiful.
And what I do, brother Dawood, just so you know, like I said, I'm a member of what led me to the BIO. I'm a journeyman electrician and solar engineer. Right
That's
now,
what's
as we speak,
Nice.
I've commissioned close to 1 gigawatt of solar farms. Right now, I was doing that. I've remediated the largest project that Tesla owns in North America as a commissioning engineer. I led that team. Currently, I'm calling you guys from the Midwest. I can't say that. I don't want to say the state of the company because I'm under some NDA. But I got hired, beloved. So just so you know, brother, the brothers like myself who are part of BIO and the brain power we have when we talk about making this mission. Right now, beloved, I got recruited and hired by the largest solar company in the world to come and commission a 230 megawatt farm with 60 megawatts of battery. What that means, that could power over 60,000 homes with battery backup. And I'm surrounded on an $800 million project with folks, mainly, I wanted 3 black faces in there, but I'm the only guy that specifically recruited. And when I arrived last weekend here on this site, they were damn near throwing flyers at me like coming to America, because I'm the only brother who had the expertise to lead the commissioning team that's actually going to energize this entire site.
Indeed,
So
bro.
we
Yes,
have
sir.
the skills. Let me give you, that's my testimonial, brother. To you, brother Jabbar, I know you're an engineering student, so I want to give a shout out to you, beloved. And you are brilliant too, young brother. You are our
Word.
future. You are brilliant. You're the
Word.
same age as my oldest daughter. So I know I'm babbling. Let me get to
not at all, bro.
let me
Preaching.
get to
It's Sunday, and
I
I'm getting ready to
appreciate
give
you.
tithes.
I'm about to say this is the Sunday sermon. The sermon.
I
Hell
just,
yeah. I'm
man,
like, where's my wallet?
I have over 2 years of stuff I've been holding in, man. And today I said, Mac, now we're not doing this. You're gonna call in. You're gonna let your presence known. I know brother Holliver has reached out to me a couple of times on the website. And honestly, beloved, like you, brother, when I left the nation specifically in terms of active member, I said that the principles are the same. I still live the same principles in terms of not necessarily theological. You and I probably differ there, but I'm probably more agnostic if I put that, if you're going to put a label on me. But an African-centered agnostic, if I'd be more specific. But my point is, one thing, I will just focus on the family, career development, personal development. But brothers like ourselves and sisters like ourselves, you don't change who you are fundamentally. You're just finding where people who are really about that, who are really sincere and have true integrity. And that's what stood out immediately about the BIO, and specifically hearing your voice and Brother Dawood, excuse me, and Brother Holip, and then later the younger cats like Brother Jabari and some of the beautiful sisters and what y'all are doing. I'm letting y'all know I'm here. We're here. We're building these skills. Again, part of me taking this current job I have to finish this project is because I'm an expert in, I can build solar generators. I've been teaching that. I teach a solar class in Compton. I teach young brothers and sisters how to build portable solar generators, lithium batteries from scratch. I can solarize any home or business. And now the reason I took this particular job is because we're doing 60 megawatts. That's utility scale solar batteries. So when we're talking about nation building on the continent, in Liberia specifically, again, they're brothers and sisters like myself. We have the skills, and I am a member of the BIO proudly. And thank you, Brother Holler, because you were the genesis of that. You were that catalyst for me, and I want to give you your flowers.
Man, that was beautiful, bro.
Yeah,
that was fucking beautiful.
I am totally taken aback by those compliments.
Let me speak to the topic, please.
It was all
I
true,
made some
though,
notes.
bro. It was all
Thank
true.
you, beloved. Thank you. The transatlantic slave trade again, when I hear you, particularly two brothers, the reason I mentioned you two specifically, Dawood and Holland, because I could tell we're so much peers. You guys say stuff. So a minute ago, Brother Holland, you brought up the flat earthism, and it just lit me up because that's where I was going to go with it. So let me say the notes. One, why is this proliferating? I call it metastasizing because it's a cancerous, ignorant, ridiculous, pseudoscience-based crap that's infiltrated so-called conscious community. This
Right.
nonsense about us being Native Americans and not being African, and it incenses me. It really triggers me for many reasons, because as a brother who was born in the Caribbean and has seen the slave plantations and seen it real life and knowing the history and the slave dungeons and the ports and know about the true history, and then coming to the United States and I know our history here, so-called ADOS, I don't even want to use them stupid ass term, but my wife is so-called as African-American, and my wife is super conscious, and she knows we don't do that nonsense. We're African people. The first woman I fell in love with was Kikuyu from Kenya. The other sister who I lost my virginity, she was from Buganda, from Uganda. My point is, I love black women. I'm a Pan-Africanist. And the truth is, I teasingly tell my wife, who was born in Long Beach, California in 1973, to the daughter of an old OG Crip, that she is more African than the continental sisters I've been with. Meaning, this nonsense is, so many of us, is beyond clear that we are one people. Now, why does this crazy, destructive thing metastasizing? Let me get to my notes now. One, I would say, for one, a lot of the brothers, and this goes back to your point, Brother Wood, it's a self-esteem / thing. I found one of the things that attracted me to BIO, when I would hear so many people like Brother Jabbar representing the newer generation, and then those of us who were middle-aged, that you guys always stress about having stressing STEM, stressing science, not pseudoscience, stressing certification, stressing real, genuine, having specialization and in our field. We don't do the pseudoscience stuff. We know so much of this intersects in terms of the pseudoscience. That's so one of the things I found, and so I put myself in that. I have to humble myself, Brother Dawood, and put myself in that 23-year-old Brother Mac when I was into this stuff. So Alex Jones, now everybody knows Alex Jones. Alex Jones started on a radio show here in California with Art Bell. Art Bell, the AM radio show called Coast to Coast.
Coast to Coast.
On Coast to Coast AM. It's probably still on. After Art Bell left, a guy named George Norrie took over the show. The reason I'm mentioning that is that Art Bell, what's the first guy I mentioned? The first guy I mentioned, the one who just got sued for the Sandy Hook and stuff. Alex Jones. Alex Jones started calling in that show as a caller. So I'm just giving a time frame to how far back this goes. He was a nobody. He used to call into the show. And this show is a white version of all these Uber conspiracy stuff. Right. And we know they're real conspiracies. But my point is, when later on, when you saw the proliferation with the Moors, with the sovereignty, and the dusty ass people like Polite rest in piss in that jail, and all these type of clowns pushing this nonsense, you saw the white origins of so much of this sovereign citizen nonsense, where the origin of comes from. It comes from white folks, because guys like me heard him talking this mess close to 30 years ago. And I was one of those. I remember Y2K. These white boys had me so spooked out. 1999, the server's going to crash. ICBMs are going to be launched across the planet. Many of us fall into that nonsense, man. It's a mind state. And what I found now, this is the analysis my wife and I meet. Say, when we meet cats today, the new iteration is flat earthers and the fake ass wabos. And what I've seen now, Brother Dawood, in retrospect, there's a profile oftentimes, and then is brothers who are not, they just don't have a lot going on in their life. They're broke, they haven't accomplished, and they have a sense of impotency as men. And when what these ideas do, it gives you a sense of power, because this is what you get to say: I'm deeper than the rest of y'all. I know stuff the rest of you don't know. I got the truth, and y'all are all sheep. I see this a lot with other brothers who are Moors into that, and because now it's so much intersecting with it. When I said the sovereignty with, and then some of it too, So I would say a lot of it is it's a self-esteem, and then to back to the ADOS FBA argument that I brought up a minute ago. No, I disagree in terms of brothers saying there's good. Let me tell you why. I think it's cancerous, and I'll tell you why. Because, and this leads to my second point, because the people who are leading it, specifically Tariq Nasheed, I could do a dissertation on the amount of smoke I have for this clown. And I think he's beyond a cancer. Because first off, whatever you feel like the FBA as a political, Tariq Nasheed is not motivated in any way anything politically. This is all about money, and it's a hustle, and it's a grift. And if you cannot see that, you were blinded in Stevie Wonder.
100%.
I saw this. I met him because I'm here in LA. And like many people, I had all the Hidden Color movies initially. And for me, when I started getting off that train, was I think the fifth Hidden Color, when he put Polite in there. He put Polite in there, and it was that sister that, you know, brother, the lawyer, sister Shabazz.
Right.
Yeah. She was
Ikea. Yep.
Yes. So sister Ikea, and then out here on the West Coast, we got Chief X. Those are two lauded voices I know who came up. I remember sister Ikea specifically. She was even on Sonetter's program calling out saying, Tariq, if you put this clown, this grifter, known grifter, this before he got convicted for the rape, which is beyond egregious in and of itself, worthy of death in my opinion, but let me not digress. But he did enough dirt with that, robbing people enough that she told Tariq, don't put, and other people told him, why are you putting this food? And of course, in your movie, so I got off the train. And then now, when in retrospect, when I watch a lot of those programs and, you know, Haiti, it's so much, you know, I mean, his new style I won't even purchase, but it's so much, he is one of the leaders of pseudoscience. So one of the brothers was saying earlier, does Tariq push FBA recognized? No, FBA, if as the leader, the founder of FBA, he does push the Wabo stuff. Him and Dane Calloway are fighting and beefing because he's pushing to get elbow room. And the other thing I found with a lot of these cats, so my thing is, again, that BIO stood very much distinctly apart from the House of Consciousness and the effery going on over there, to all the other, the Sonettas, the Tariq, the Dane Callaways, the Nature Boys, the Young Pharaohs, all these personalities that popped up. One thing that I found I put together that is that all of these cats, their whole livelihood is based on monetary on this YouTube and quote unquote pushing black trauma, the black trauma porn. And or a guy like Young Pharaoh, just a complete idiot with just, I mean, it's laughable. Guys like Bro Sanchez. I mean, this dude has the intelligence, the IQ of a gnat. I don't even understand people like me, like who really work in science and STEM, even listen to this clown. The flat earther thing is something that I used to take as a joke when it first came out. And then I would go to the barbershops and hear some of these young cats saying this stuff. And I'm like, whoa, people really believe this mess?
They do.
And it's such a ridiculous thing, especially someone like me who works in solar, who understands, I have to understand the science of irradiance and insulation and how the sun works and the movement of the earth. And it's real because there are projects in the hundreds of millions of dollars that's based on my expertise. So it's not me. I'm not YouTube university educated. I'm actually educated. It's so laughable, similar to the Wabos, that all of this stuff, the personalities who push this nonsense would never, ever go before real university peer-reviewed stuff. None of them have. I'm waiting for one of them to write a damn book that could be challenged and peer-reviewed. It's all YouTube-based.
They wouldn't even go before us.
Correct.
They wouldn't even go, but let's not even go that far. This is the university. They wouldn't even go before us. And the bullshit that they were spewing out about electricity for years, nobody challenged it.
Come on, man. Come on, beloved. I mean, and so the three things I think is, one, is monetized as a business hustle for all the personalities I mentioned and those we know haven't been mentioned. And so I think those of us who have discernment and intelligence, that's the first thing you need to look. The BIO don't ask for money. Brother Hab and Dawood and Javardo said, cash at me now. So that stood out immediately, like, okay, that speaks to your integrity, that speaks to your veracity of what you're saying. This is not, you ain't paying your bills off of selling me black trauma porn weekly. And to your point, Brother Jabbar, you were saying earlier, every social thing that comes up, we just on this stuff and it's just self-consuming. And that's okay if that's what it is. But the the danger of people like Tariq specifically is that he couches it in, no, I'm really about this movement, but this dude is selling soap, he's selling hair. When Ahmaud Arbery was shot, this jackass had the audacity to sell Ogun juice. By the way, Ogun being a African, West African deity, but you're not African, but I digress. But Ogun juice, and he's quoted as saying, Ahmaud Arbery might not be alive if he had Ogun juice. I mean, I was so listen. Watch if you go back, man.
Bro,
If you go back and watch, if you know, I listen. I'm about receipts. If you go back and watch Michi X's one of her recent, I think the last one she did about 6 months, where she completely undressed Tariq. She showed the videos, and but people like me, I used to be one of Tariq Nashidites who would listen to him every Sunday religiously and that kind of stuff. A lot of the crazy shit he said, I've heard it out of my ears, and it's stuck in my memory. I remember when he first said reparations is easy. I can show you how to get it easily. That dude ain't about no damn reparations. He got his reparations. He got the over $1 million for that damn Hidden Colors bodega. That's beyond a joke. And people like me who live in LA, you could go by there. I mean, he got his reparations. And constantly all this dude do, he raises money. You know, I want to stick to that. I think
I want to interrupt you for 1 second.
Go ahead, beloved.
Doesn't that small Hidden Colors little closet he got, doesn't that remind you of the Salon restaurant in Chicago?
That's it.
Same thing, bro.
Same thing.
It made it look like it was big, but it's a little room.
It's a little room, and then you like, Brother Dawood, do you understand in the ranks in the early 90s? Even till today, we have yet to be able to pull enough resources to own the actual mosque.
Right.
Still, we're renting.
Right.
Like, we talking about nation building, we can't get a single building, and the supposed Christians who are not as enlightened or deep as us own thousands of churches around the country.
Right.
At some point, you got to use some discernment and say, And then the thing too, I won't say I'm conflicted, Brother, but again, in the interest of full disclosure, and recently, because of not being in the solar space and renewable energy, a lot of the members who currently in the ranks reached out to me, and it's all love. It's all love, because I don't, and I mean that sincerely. Right. But I think the fact that I'm not in there in the ranks, to me, that speaks volumes, or whatever, however they want to interpret it. That speaks to, I'm in a different space. But I love the believers, but the leadership and some of the stuff. So one of the brothers, for instance, so I was interviewed. If you go, I'll give you a reference. Any brother, sister who wants to see who I am and you see my face. And one of the brothers, there's 2 young brothers in the ranks who have a show called the STEM Files. And it's a brilliant show, because they literally bring people from the STEM, every STEM field, and interview them. And they don't get big views at all, but they've had me on there no less than 3 times. Speaking on solar and solar industry and renewable energy. So anyone wants to reference, my government name, McPherson Aldonza, I'm on there. And I love it. And I think they're part of a younger generation, like Brother Jabari, who's earnest and talks about nation building. But the ones like us who have discernment and who've been in this game over 30 years, been saying they're in this for a while. And with all due respect, this is the part, maybe theological, I don't mean to offend any members of the NOI. But this is where I'm at spiritually with it. I feel like we have turned into Hebrew Israelites. The Hebrew Israelites waiting supposedly for Jesus to crack the sky and come and save us, and then we waiting for a mother plane and baby plane to come. Like, at some point, again, you don't have to disagree with it, Brother Dawood. I'm just saying, for me,
bro, I'm not over there no more, bro.
I'm just saying theologically, Farad, where you at, bro? Like, when is this gonna happen? Because I'm feeling like it's the same. We are impotent with actually being about the work of nation building, because we're still waiting for somebody to come out the sky and save us. Now that's a broad statement, and I think, and to be fair, I think that varies, because there are many of us in the ranks or either who earnestly are about that life. But I think the leadership is shown, to your point with the Man March and otherwise, that they're not. So
you know what? I just want to say this before you continue.
Yeah.
What really wakes people like you and I up is when we go into the real world, me being electronic security.
Yes, sir.
You have to operate on a $2 million church.
Yes, sir.
And you say to yourself, how have we been an organization for 30 to 40 years?
With supreme wisdom, no less.
Exactly. And we don't have nothing like this. But now, once you get into the trades as an electrician,
yes, sir,
or whatever it is you do, and you go and you operate on a $5 million bill, or the project that you're doing right now, and you say to yourself, wait a minute, I know that we collecting pennies, nickels, and dimes, but we've been in existence for 60 years now, and we have
Yes.
nothing like this.
Yes.
And that's what really wakes people up. So I think that those two brothers on that STEM show, what's going to happen is the further their careers grow and the more money they make, but the more they're exposed to, the more they get away from it. Because Guru from Gangstar said this years ago. He said
Yeah.
spirituality supports reality.
Reality. We got to start fight with the right mentality.
We got to
Woo!
fight with the right
Y'all-
mentality.
y'all-
There you
Your
go.
brothers.
You two brothers sound like Deion Sanders talking about Jackson State. But very, very
that
quickly,
is
can I
hilarious.
say something to you
Y'all-
two brothers? Very, very, very quickly. I just want to say this. I appreciate both of you guys, and let it be known that in 1995, I was an 18-year-old freshman at Howard University. I was there in DC. I dragged a couple of my brothers from Detroit to DC to Million Man March. It was very inspirational. You did not waste your time, brothers. Please do not think you wasted your time. I know you guys were in the organization, so you have a little bit different expectation of what should come out of it. But as speaking as someone who was there at the Million Man March, who was not in the Nation of Islam, it was very inspirational. It was a great time, and it was great to see just the ability of brothers to be able to come together and stand as one. It was not a waste of time at all, brothers. Please don't.
But I understand what we're
Nobody,
saying.
I don't
though,
think
bro.
anyone
There-
said
there's-
that though.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, beloved. I
there's
appreciate your
levels
point.
to-
I'll clarify. Go
Yeah.
first, brother. Wood.
No,
Okay.
but there's levels to what we're saying. See, the feeling that I felt, what I saw, I can never forget. I can never forget seeing all those black men there, and there was no problem, there was no beef, there was money on the floor, and people would give it back to the person. That experience will stay in my heart for the rest of my life.
Correct. Yes.
What we're saying is what happened afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we're saying. That day was one of the best days of my young life. I put that on God and all 5 of my children. That was one of the best days of my young life. I can't
Agreed.
even begin to describe how I felt when I came home. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, in hindsight, then you look at it and you look at it from a strategic view. That's the tactical view. When you look at it from the strategic view, which is the top-down view, then you say to yourself, okay, we came together, we collected money, we had these feelings. What was done with that? And this is what we're critiquing. We're not critiquing the experience, we're critiquing the results.
100%. If I could add on real quick,
And I was
brother.
just saying that one of the results is you still have brothers like me who are still sitting and are still ready. That's all I want to say.
No, if I could respond,
still ready.
I just want to say this. You know, one of the things that also makes the BL welcome, and I want to address your quick point, not to get too much into it, but we are an organization where if you believe in land infrastructure nationhood, you are a part of this group. We don't have purity test of what you got to do. As long as you believe in land infrastructure nationhood in Liberia, that's what matters. We don't care what religion you are. We don't care what your sexual orientation is. We don't care if you're biracial or African, Caribbean. If you are for our people, that is what matters. These purity tests got to go. Like we are. Do you believe in land infrastructure nationhood in Liberia? Do you believe in Liberia? It's a yes or no question. If that is the case, and you believe in that, you can come to the fold. We're not asking for blood like Hollis has blood and urine samples.
So you can be a white person, yeah? You can be a white person who declares himself mixed race.
Let me ask you a question, man.
You can be a white person.
Is that a serious question?
Yes, definitely. That's why.
Are there any white people on this line?
Pardon?
Are there any white people on this line?
The issue is, how do you deal with the mixed race question?
Oh,
if you're saying that mixed race people are classified as Black African, then a white person come in and say that their great-great-grandmother was Black, therefore they're mixed race, therefore they're qualified.
And you think that that's going to fly with us?
I'm about to say, we said
you think that
Black
that's going to
people who
fly
have
with
a
the
Black
people that's on this
parent.
line right now?
Yeah, I'm about to say, we're talking about black people who have a black parent and one a white parent. We're not talking about white people who have white parents and then they have like 16 generations down the line a black ancestor. We are talking about people like Colin Kaepernick, Halle Berry, people who have a black parent and maybe one white parent. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about people who are 90% white, 99% white, and they just have this one ancestor from the days of slavery.
You know what this
Right.
is
So
called?
are you codifying what you're talking about? Is it
this is called-
codified?
I'm gonna tell you
Yes.
what this is
Codified.
called. With all due respect, this is called a Negro stalling.
Stalling tactic.
It's called.
Weakness
That's what
comes
this is
from
called.
if you don't
It's the
clarify
definition.
identity. If you do not clarify identity, the system will crash sooner or later.
Yes.
The
But
children will die.
but you actually brought it up yourself earlier, brother. You asked about Liberia. Liberia has already done this. They've already qualified the identity.
Yes.
And more importantly,
White
are you
Anthony Hall.
anticipating?
There's no white landowners in Liberia. If they are,
Right.
name them.
And your point would be germane if you were anticipating some influx of white people saying, "No, we want to join the BIO." What are we talking about, bro? That's not a thing.
Stalling tactic. It's like we
I'm about to
keep
say, it's not
analyzing
like
and bringing
we
up
thought
stuff.
this thing through. We thought this thing through. It's not like we're just like, hey, just come. Like we thought this through. We're not talking about people who are 99. We're talking about people who, like Colin Kaepernick, one black parent, one white parent. And if that mixed race person said, I identify with my black heritage, I'm black, I'm with the movement, no problem.
Margot Robbie can't come to the BIO and say she's black. Like, come on, man. Like, this is ridiculous. It's like we're not dealing with idiots here. We're dealing with people. No white people is going to come amongst us and claim to be black and get into the BIO, let alone Liberia.
Wait. Are you saying we can't include or like make a consideration for Brad Pitt?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
even if Angelina Jolie has adopted a number of black babies, we still can't.
Sorry,
she can't get in.
Damn. What about George Clooney?
I'm about to say, brother.
Can I address the Can I address the pink elephant in the room?
Yes.
Why is it that we have these line in the sands for this nation that we don't even have?
Correct.
But we don't have those same line in the sands for the nation that we currently exist in.
Right, people
is working at a corporation.
Facts.
They around gay people, they around trans people, they around mixed people. We accept this in the nation that you living in, but now all of a sudden it's a third rail in a nation that you ain't even established yet.
Correct.
Oh, we don't control
I'm calling it a Negro stalling tactic because that's what it is. It's the definition of one. Every time we come up with forward movement, there's always a yeah, but this. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but
the Negro definition of a Negro by Liberian standards, does that include mixed race people?
Yes.
Let's deal with policy now.
If they have a black parent, a biologically black parent, yes, it includes them. If you are black and Lebanese, you have a black mother. That mother is a citizen of the republic. Okay? If that black person, let's say that mixed race person, had continued to keep mixing, they wouldn't be counted anymore. But we're talking about
the children will be kicked out. Is that policy?
They would have never got in.
They wouldn't be counted as black. They wouldn't be citizens.
And then, right. So therefore, wow, this is serious. So therefore, a black person who marries a black Liberian who marries a white person and has mixed race children, and then those children get mixed race, they can lose citizenship even though they're born in Liberia. Is that correct?
What?
No. Are you talking about two mixed race people getting together?
Yes.
If that mixed race person and another mixed race person that's half black and think that person's still the same genetic makeup, they're still black.
Guys, I'm concerned. Did I make the cut?
Interesting.
Did I make the cut?
Oh my!
Did I make?
And here's
Did I
the
make the
thing.
cut?
And here's the thing I would just say to your point, though. Here's the thing I want you just to consider. Even if, let's say, a black Liberian person marries a white person and they have mixed children, that
Right.
mixed child is going to be raised around black people. They're going to see
Right.
There
black
you go.
people as a standard of beauty. Most
Right.
likely, they're going to marry another black person and just be black.
Likely, you said.
Yeah,
Don't like
exactly.
Likely. So therefore, if that mixed race child marries another white person, yes, and that mixed race is a citizen of Liberia, and they go on holiday and whatever, and they meet a white person and get married and have children. That you're saying that white person who they're married to is not a citizen, and neither are the children. Is that correct? Is that the policy?
No, Jabari, can I take this one, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ice Black, I want you to take a look at the state of Israel, since we've been talking about Israel. You are. I don't want you to take a issue that is probably 2 to 3 generations down the line and try to apply it to the current situation. If you look at the state of Israel, you have white, black, Ethiopian, whatever there, right?
Felicia,
So there are certain tests and applications that you have to do to become a citizen of the state of Israel when your generations go down so far. So
okay.
So don't try. So the question to answer your question, we aren't crossing that line yet. It's just like Holub just said. We haven't even established this yet. But if it comes to that, there will be, just like Jabari said, if your mind state and your culture is now Liberian because we spent 2 to 3 generations establishing what a black Liberian is, then there will be a litmus test for that. We're not talking about that right now at this current moment.
Yeah.
Are you following
Well,
what we're saying?
I understand what you're saying, but I'd like to challenge that. In that, I'm
Okay.
saying, in order to successfully build, you have to have the foundation solid, so that the
Okay,
higher
hold
up
on.
you
Let me.
build,
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let me
you're
ask you
shaky.
this.
Your foundation sounds shaky.
No. Let me ask you this. All right, what makes an American?
I don't know. You tell me.
No. Okay, I'll tell you. Right now, we had 2 presidents ago. We had a president who was considered a black president, who was an American,
Considered
whose father was Kenyan.
Yes.
His mother was white.
Yes.
He was not even born in the contiguous 48. He was born in Hawaii and was raised in Indonesia.
Right.
But he was American. Why? Because the United States has existed for so long that what is defined as American has been laid out in certain constitutional
The 14th
declarations.
Amendment, birthright citizenship. Correct.
But on top of that, once he was born on U.S. soil, even though one of his parents was not a born U.S. citizen, was a naturalized U.S. citizen, that same thing will apply. It's about, at that point, it becomes about the culture and not necessarily about the skin color.
Right. So therefore, it's confusion because he's not black.
No. There's no confusion with culture. There's no confusion with the culture.
Follow me. Confusion with the race.
Go ahead and speak. I know
Confusion.
you want to say something. Go ahead, Joe.
Let Joe speak.
I have 2 questions for Ice Black.
Yeah.
IC3 black. Yeah.
IC3
it's the code.
black.
Yeah. It's the code.
Oh, okay.
Clarification of identity.
What is it that you fear eventually is going to happen without that solid foundation or whatever in Liberia that you're talking about?
Oh, excellent question. Okay. Just like the confusion, I'm saying without that solid foundation, the concept of Liberian identity will dissolve, just like the concept of African identity. I have big arguments with the Africans. There's a lot of them that say to be African is not about race. Therefore, they have lots of white people who get initiated into the tribe. And therefore, they can say, well, I'm African because I've been initiated. So there's lots of white chiefs. So therefore, the race question that tribe doesn't understand. They don't understand the system and the operation of white supremacy. They can't conceive of the system. So that white person who's been initiated as chief is considered to be full African, and who's going to argue with that? So therefore, African identity itself is flawed. Just like the concept of the African Union. What exactly is an African for there to be an African Union?
This sounds like
You divide
intellectual
on the
masturbation
African.
right now,
No,
man.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
This
He's
sounds like
right.
intellectual
He's right.
masturbation.
No. He's right. He's right. But the question, and I don't want to correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, because this is your question. But IC3, are you saying that the nation has to be racially homogenous? This is why I asked you about the United States. There's no racial thing such as an American. And we
That's
live
the American.
we
right.
live in a
Yeah.
well, hold on 1 second. We live in a modern world where Africa, the continent of Africa, has had long lines drawn by Europeans where we're calling people Nigerian that are part of different tribes. We're calling people Kenyan that are part of different tribes.
Correct.
So are you? So to Joe's question, I think this is kind of what leads a little bit into Joe's question. Are you afraid of a non-racially homogenous nation state?
Yes, Africa cannot have any power without blackness. Africanness means nothing, and there can be no power. The only way to counter the power of white supremacy is through blackness as a value and as a clear identity.
Okay,
Without that, it's
so
gone.
Can I say
so
something?
are you saying that Africans need to go back and redraw their nation state lines?
It's not about state lines. The
No, that's
definition has to
exactly
be
what it's about.
clarified.
That's exactly
This
what it's
has
about.
well, to
If
redraw the state lines, there has to be an authority or a government to define where the state lines are. So therefore, the government has to have clear identification of who's a member of that government and who's not.
Let me ask you this question. Let me ask, because I want to get back to what we were doing, and let's get back to what we were doing. But this is the point to address. There is no country on this planet that's racially homogenous.
Exactly.
Japan is not racially homogenous. Korea is not racially homogenous. You got more black people in China, for goodness sake, than you got in some African countries. You got more black people in the UK, France, Germany, and they're citizens in their countries, yet they don't run the countries.
Oh, so you think black people are accepted as Chinese, do you?
Say again?
Yes.
You think black people are accepted as Chinese? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they are accepted in the culture. They may not be the ideal standard. We're not saying they're the ideal standard, but are they considered to be part of Chinese society? Yes, they are. They're not the ideal. Of course, an Afro-Chinese person is not going to be put at the forefront.
I beg to differ.
And why?
Jabari,
And why,
I beg
Mike?
to differ. Hey, IC3, have you ever watched the Olympics or the World Cup?
Yes. And so?
Do you notice that 75% of the European athletes that represent us in sports are actually African?
Yeah, and so?
Exactly. There are African people that are called Germans and French.
Yes. And so, what's the point?
So the point is, I'm asking you, what's your point?
The point of it is because what we're saying
there's a difference between race and nationality, bro.
Yeah, you got black people representing China. You got black people representing. You had, for example, in the 2020 the Tokyo Olympics, a black man literally carrying the flag of Japan.
Okay. Okay, I get the point. I get the point. Your point is clear.
And we're worried
Your point
so much
is strong.
about a racially homogenous society.
I've got the point. Yeah, I've got the point. Good point. So that means by that same definition that you've been describing, you can then have white Liberians.
Eventually,
black people say, "Oh, we're not racially homogenous. We got to fit in with the rest of the world."
Is white a race?
I understand.
Is white a race?
Can I say something?
Oh, hold on. Is white a race or is it a mindset? Is white a race or is it a mindset? Because I will tell you this, IC3, I've lived everybody knows I'm a military contractor. I've been all over the Middle East, all over Africa, all over Europe. And I'll tell you one thing, if you go to some place like Jordan or Palestine and you look at somebody who we would call white in the United States and call them white, they will fucking kick your ass because they don't want to be
Oh,
called white.
okay.
Whiteness is not a race, bro. White
Ronan,
is a
Whiteness,
culture.
white supremacy is a religion. It's a faith. It's a
Ronan.
system.
And
This
and
whole
and
world is
nobody,
built on the curse of
no,
Ham.
and just like
That-
Jabari said,
What kind of
no fourth generation Liberian who has white skin is going to consider themselves white.
what
Oh,
kind of weird
so Liberia has
conversation is
nothing to
this,
do with
y'all?
race then.
Yo,
Okay,
let Ronan,
Yo,
let
interesting.
Ronan speak.
Can I
I'm
come
gonna go
in?
trying to speak.
Yeah,
Nothing
Carl,
to
Can I
do
come
with
please,
in?
race.
please,
Ah,
please,
interesting.
please, Carl, please.
Interesting.
Okay.
I think M Bison made some strong points over here.
Okay. So this is a very strange conversation for African people to have. Okay. So there's two things. One, we didn't invent the concept of separating human beings in terms of color and pigmentation. It's not our creation. It's a political
Okay.
creation.
Facts.
It is a political creation. It is based on a false or pseudoscience, as we like to phrase it. And we all understand this. That being said, a pseudo fake ideology has real world consequences.
That's right.
It is not our creation, but we are we exist at the detriment of this ideology. Or this
Okay.
ideology has led to our detriment, I should say. I misspoke. So
Okay.
this ideology has created a system where there's a human totem pole. And
Right.
African people are at the bottom of this totem pole. This is a reality. It doesn't matter if you're in
That's right.
Japan. It doesn't matter if you're in Egypt. Even in Egypt, our Arabized African, North African brothers look down upon Africans because the entire world has bought into this ideology for the most part.
Yes.
So for us to sit here and pretend that most people of European descent do not appreciate and ravish in this false ideology because it benefits them, it is what it is. Are there exceptions? Are there woke Europeans? Europeans are human beings. But it is in fact human nature to gravitate towards that which benefits you. It benefits them to
That's right.
perpetuate this ideology of white supremacy. And no,
100%.
there are no white Liberians. There are no white Liberians, period.
Yet.
Liberia was created, established as an antithesis to white supremacy. It is the only country in the world that professes itself as a black nation. This is built in its constitution. This is the purpose for its existence. If that changes, Liberia ceases to exist.
That's right.
That is basically what Liberia is. It is an asylum for African people who are oppressed. And African in this world, in this modern world that we live in, means black.
Right.
It doesn't mean white people who ceremoniously adopt black culture. It is talking about people that people consider to be Negroes, people who would have been on a plantation in chains. It means African people who are categorized as so-called sub-Saharians. All of this stuff. Y'all know what it is. White people ain't confused about who's white.
Understand?
Why
Peace,
in the world are
peace,
Africans confused about who's black?
peace,
And
sister.
Jabari has said
Can I-
something really profound one time. I'm gonna just get off my soapbox. Jabari and I were having a conversation one time. He said something very profound. He said to me, when it comes to power and privilege, white people have absolutely no confusion about who's white.
That's right.
He said this to me before. I think we spend way too much time focusing on these people. We need to really figure out what we need to be doing for ourselves. Most of us have people of European ancestry or full-blooded Europeans in our families. That doesn't mean anything. We're here talking about political realities.
Right.
The fact that little black girls can't be comfortable in their skin in schools because people have dehumanized blackness so much. That's what we need to be talking about. This is not about holding hands and singing kumbaya with people who think they're more human beings than you are. What sense does that even make? I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I just wanted to point that out, and y'all have a nice day. I have nothing else to
No.
say.
So
Let Ronan,
to
let
answer.
Ronan talk, because Ronan
Go ahead,
has
Ronan.
been trying to speak.
Go ahead, Ronan.
Liberia is a black nation, right? This is IC3. If it's a black nation, will white people be in control of it? No. End of story. So, and Carl, basically everything she said. There's nothing more to say on that. I mean, these arguments about that is pointless. Why are black? It's like you said, why are black folks worried about that? Like I said, it's simple. Are you about winning or you about losing? There ain't no time to be discussing all this bullshit.
It's not that simple.
It is that simple. It is that simple. Here, let me say this, Jabbar. Can I say this? Can I say this?
It's like
Can
the
I?
level of you saying we gotta focus so much on if mixed race people. Listen, if they, like I said before, we have them in our family. They've been here historically. Why are we focused so much on this?
Because the white man
Because
is
earlier on,
he holds all the infinity He holds all the infinity stones.
Somebody
The
said
white
earlier on.
the white man is like the Walking Dead. If he just comes in a black nation, the nation is going to turn white because of his presence in it. That's what's going to happen.
So let me ask you this question. IC3. So since you say mixed race people are not, in your idea, they're not black, they shouldn't be considered black. Do you think Joseph Jenkins Roberts, Liberia's first president, shouldn't count? Or Alfred Francis Russell, he shouldn't count? Because Liberia had two mixed race presidents, Joseph Jenkins Roberts and Alfred Francis Russell, who were unapologetically black. Are you saying they unapologetically identified as being black and despise Europeans? Do you think those two people, they're not black and they shouldn't count as being black?
Somebody said earlier on that if a full black Liberian marries a white person and they're living in Liberia and they have a child, that child is mixed race and is a citizen of Liberia. Should that mixed race child, who is a citizen of Liberia, marry another white person and have a child, then that child, if you say that child is a Liberian, then that child could marry another white person and so on. And so therefore, Liberia can be whitened, couldn't it?
There's
let me
Can I chime in, please?
There's no policy.
I want to give him a practical answer.
Can I chime in, please? I haven't talked in a minute.
Hold on. Who has not spoken yet?
Me. I haven't spoken.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a very serious question, man. Like, this is very serious. Are you gonna be an Expendables 5 as M. Bison?
Maybe.
So that's what I wanted to get to.
Because this is very serious, man. Like, I want to know, because if we're all about infrastructure and nationhood, and they're trying to develop directed energy weapons, I mean, we could use your help, right?
Probably not.
I can see you spamming energy beams left and right, man. You got nothing on Goku. You got nothing on Ryu, nigga. You are it, bro. Like, you could. Are you in the BA? Are you in the BAIO?
So that's
we need weapons. We need directed energy weapons. You can help us out.
Like, bro,
bring it back to Joe. Bring it back to Joe. Let Joe finish up.
We're derailing.
This is serious.
Like, we went from having a conversation.
Well, that is why I'm asking you about the foundations of the BAIO. I'm asking you, how does the BAIO?
We can start with you. We can start with you. You are the foundation, nigga.
Deal with the mixed race question. It's a proper question. And I heard somebody say, a representative of the BAIO said that if a African black person marries a white person and has a child in Liberia, that child is a Liberian.
We
And that
literally
mixed
have
race
we have
child
a
Yes.
can
Yes. Yes.
marry
IC3.
another white
Yes.
person.
IC3.
Yes.
We literally have an example of that in Liberia right now. Do you not know the person by the name of Roida Ure?
No. I have to ask. That's why I'm asking you. That's why I'm here.
She's literally half black, half Lebanese. Her mother is Lebanese, her father is black, and she's a Liberian citizen.
Oh my God!
Like,
there
why?
you go.
Hey, listen,
On the
listen,
way
man.
down.
Hey, listen,
On the way
listen,
down.
listen. I'll
On
say
the
this.
way
I'll
down.
say this. I'll say this. Right? Your braces can block any other fuckery that comes our way. Just like stand up in front of it. Just cross your wrists together, and like we'll be good. You are the foundation, sir.
I don't understand why you don't get it. The white man is like the zombies
we
in The
went
Walking
from-
Dead.
we had a
If
whole
there's a
30
black,
So,
let's say there's a
hey.
99% black people in this
forgot what the
nation.
Arabs
When
did?
that one man, that one white man comes in,
we literally
the
went
whole
from-
nation is going to turn white. Don't y'all
So-
get it?
I think
It's
Ice
turning
Spice
Arab
Black.
already.
I think Ice
Liberia
Spice Black has
is
the
turning
Infinity
Arab,
Gauntlets.
isn't it? Liberia is turning
Ice
Arab
Spice Black
already,
has the
isn't it?
Infinity Gauntlet.
Okay,
It's Liberia turning
How
Arab.
is, oh my God.
You just told me. What did you just say? You said the black man's married
He
a
has.
Lebanese.
Look at the background. He
The
has the
Lebanese
Infinity
person is
Gems.
not black.
Hey, can we
We're
let
talking
Joe? Can we
about
let Joe
one
finish his
person.
point? Can we let Joe finish his
So,
point?
I just wanted to say, like, okay, so that's what I wanted to get to was if the idea was that this was some kind of way that the entire black population of Liberia was going to get replaced by white people slowly over time was through this way. So, and I feel like I
No,
got
the
to
black
it now.
people will be ruled by non-black people. All the non-black people need to do is get into government positions of power, and then they'll be ruling the black people as usual. And you get white
Ice Spice, you are the
all
power, bro.
over again.
Okay.
You know
okay.
what? You know
so
what?
Ice Spice, you are the power.
In the other African countries, there in West Africa, Central Africa, so on and so forth, that doesn't have this rule about you have to be a Negro to be a citizen. Is what you're talking about happening there?
No.
Is it not true? Isn't it true that you have state capture and Nigeria does not classify itself as a black nation?
I'm saying,
Yeah?
are white people,
just because there's a lot of black people in Nigeria doesn't mean that it's a black nation.
I'm saying the exact thing that you just described that will happen to Liberia, that you'll have people who eventually become white, mixed people come there, eventually become white, and then get into government and take over. Is that happening in any of the black countries in Africa right now that doesn't have that rule that Liberia has about having to be a Negro to be a citizen?
I'll be able to answer that question when you tell me which other country in Africa is a black country.
I got a question. Are you Ice Spice's real father?
Name one.
Are you Ice Spice's real father?
In Africa?
Are you Ice Spice's real father? You seem to be against mixed race people, but are you Ice Spice's real father? You steal your
Let's
name.
slow down.
She probably is your namesake, right?
Let's
Are you
slow
Ice Spice's
down.
real father?
You know what? We're
Watch
not
this.
having
Let's
this
slow down.
conversation no more. We're not having this conversation.
Joe said, are there any black countries? I asked him, name one black country in Africa. Name it. Name it.
I would like to say something. I would like to say
We're not having
something.
this conversation no more.
Yeah,
we're not having
we're
this
going down the
conversation.
rabbit hole.
Yeah, we're
going
not
down the
having
rabbit
this
hole.
I think we're on the right rabbit hole.
We not have. We just do. We went from having a productive conversation to this being
I'm
a
actually,
conversation.
I'm actually happy for this conversation because if anybody had any confusion about what the Negro stalling tactic was, got a full 3D presentation. Because what were we talking about before this was introduced? Now everything is going left, and everything that we were originally talking about, we're no longer talking about. This is what happened.
Can I talk about joining the BAIO?
Please do.
Everybody join the BIAO, but hold up, and Jabari, while I got you on here, I'm actually on the website, and I'm getting the mobile. I'm getting the mobile verification, but then the website just kind of stalls. It won't let me go past that.
Just send us an email.
All right.
Either me or Jabari. That's all.
So the reason
See,
why
this
that
is
question,
actually this comes in handy with the whole get involved thing, because it would be so nice to have people who knew about IT.
the reason why that question was skirted around like that to becoming, well, what is a black country and all that foolishness is because
Like we having a childish conversation.
it's not happening. Even
Right.
in those other countries that don't have the rule about you got to be a Negro to be a citizen, it's not happening.
This is a classic yeah, but philosophy. No matter what solution you have, somebody's going to come up with a yeah, but. Anything to prevent forward movement. That's what it is. And this conversation, I'm so glad that it happened. I know some people are frustrated because they say we got taken off course, but this is a proper representation of what we've been talking about.
Honestly, I think
movement. It's the yeah but movement. It's the Negro stalling tactics. It's like whenever we get to a motion that's going forward, somebody's going to come and tell you why that ain't going to work. But
I think IC3 should be our
solutions. You notice that they never have any alternatives to what we're talking about. So I'm just glad everybody got a chance to.
Yeah, like that, that thing frustrated me. Like I said, listen, I understand your point. It's like, listen, we have these concerns. Things happen, but at the end of the day, our goal is laying infrastructure nationhood. We're going to be running the society. We are focused on that. We're not even in positions of power. We're not in the positions of power yet. So instead of us using the resources that we have and the people that we can have, we're having theoretical, hypothetical situations.
Exactly. That's the reason why I was so. You notice I kept really quiet on your Twitter meeting because that's what was going on. It was a whole bunch of intellectual information. It's like all I kept seeing was dudes with their legs crossed sipping on latte, having these intellectual discourse leading to nowhere. And it's all based on this white man is Thanos shit. The white man is just this unbeatable force. And our culture apparently ain't shit because you can have a 99% black nation. That one white man can come in, and next thing you know, that nation's gonna be white.
Yeah,
because that's how weak our culture is.
Like the majority, like even those countries that you said that don't have the Negro clause in, that don't have what Liberia has, they're still black countries. 99% of the population is black. Black people run the government. They run the society. Yes, we live under a system. We're dealing with imperialism, but African people are the majority. They're in positions of power. They are the ones that have it.
Like Niger, yeah? Like
yes.
Niger. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
It's white people.
Niger coup was about that, yeah?
Is it white people that's running this year? White people are running this year?
Like we're having.
Yes.
In their government.
The French.
In their government.
The Nigerians are telling you that themselves. They say they want French out.
In their government. I'm not talking about white people ruling from overseas. I'm talking about in the Nigerian government. You have white people that came up in the government and are ruling.
Do you understand what state capture
I think I Spy should be the president.
Do you understand what state capture is? Do you know what? Have you ever heard of that?
A process of people coming on the ground, white people coming on the ground there in the country and coming up in the government.
We're talking about governance here and power.
That's what you said.
Yo, I Spy's daddy should be president of Niger. I'm an advocate for that.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. If Niger wasn't a black country and black people aren't running it, why is France flipping out? Because if black people didn't run the country, France wouldn't be flipping out. They wouldn't be going tooth and nail saying, oh, what's going on in Niger is wrong. Why? Because the Nigerians run their society. Same thing in Burkina Faso, same thing in Mali. Like, what are we talking about here?
Let's slow down and be careful here.
Dude, the thing that you described, it's not happening. It's not happening.
Do you know what white supremacy is, Joe?
Dude,
what is white supremacy and how does it work?
You can't stay in one place. You just keep on switching the goalposts.
Oh my God.
What you specifically described is not
Why y'all taking Why y'all taking this nigga seriously?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, my God.
Do you
Nigga, just
understand what
leave
white
Ice
supremacy
Spice's
is and
father
how it
alone,
works?
man. Let him be president of Niger. Let
Do
him be
you really
president of the African
understand what
Union.
you're
He
dealing
got
with?
this.
Do you
I want
really
could I,
understand what you are dealing with? What white
Do
We're
supremacy is and
dealing
how
with
it
you.
works?
You are our
let me
savior,
ask,
sir.
do you think we were born yesterday? Do you think we have not studied? Like,
Yes,
do you think we're
yes,
not aware?
yes. He's not to be taken seriously. Look at him.
Like,
I agree. I think at this point, brother Ice, far be it from me. It's my first time calling in. I appreciate everyone who's having patience with you. I appreciate some of the
Look
brothers
at him. Look at him, man. Like
who
he's
are
Ice Spice's father. Like leave him
yeah
alone.
who
oh
Like
my God.
he's swimming
yeah,
in that money. His
but I
daughter's
want to
making
say
money.
yeah no I want to say something serious to you, brother Ice C3. You're on this call with serious people who have a serious mission, and I'm looking at the gray hair you have, and I have gray hair, and what's bothering me is your lack of self-awareness to say
He is
right
self-aware.
now you're operating a pure sense of narcissism, that there's no proportionality, that even if this is an important point, and I agree, people in the comments saying that this is something that needs to be settled, understood, fair enough. But I'm using my own discernment to look at you, brother, to say, at what point are you going to say, have the self-awareness to say, this is disproportionate in terms of the time and effort I'm taking away from the larger, more important conversations to solely focus on you like a pit bull on this obsession you have. So
He
it can
has a
be,
Michael Jackson glove on, bro. Like stop taking him seriously, man.
yeah, no,
Look
you're a
at him.
troll at this point. I'm waiting, it's not my place to, but look at,
Why are
yeah,
you
this
taking him
is
seriously?
ridiculous.
He's
Can you
probably
guys
the product. He's probably the listen. He's probably the product of some British intelligence agent just to fuck us up. Like he's
you guys
look at
can
him.
you guys hear me?
Just kick him off.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, can you guys hear me?
yeah, I hear you.
Yes.
Okay. I want to answer the question about white supremacy. And what is white supremacy? White supremacy is the infinity gauntlet. You got the space stone, the reality stone, the power stone, the mind stone, the time stone, and the soul stone. And when you get all of those together, then you have white supremacy.
He has a white glove on. You see
Okay.
that, right?
So does that answer the question?
Oh my goodness.
Yes, but I would disagree with you. I like Neely Fuller's definition. I think it's
Oh
very
my
different from
goodness.
yours. Neely
Nearly
Fuller, I
full.
like
I can
Fuller's
with the
definition.
This
infinity
dude is
gauntlet.
trolling, man. This dude, he gotta go. He's
If
He's
I
trolling.
got
have
he's
the
got the
infinity
white
gauntlet
infinity
Neely
on,
gauntlet.
there
Fuller.
is
You
no
never heard of
Neely
Neely
Fuller.
Fuller?
I
Yeah,
can
we know
see
who Nearly Fuller is.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yo,
At
Jabari.
this point, he's just throwing shit on the wall. Just kick him off. God
Nah,
damn, I had my fun.
no, we not having this. We not having this. Yeah. Good day. Yeah, good day.
Kick him off.
Good day, brother. Like, we not having this
Yeah.
conversation no more. Like, good day. Like, we
How did he
done.
have
We have
access to the link?
have a good day.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, y'all let M Bison on, man.
Wow.
our whole, like, we just spent literally 30 minutes on
Right.
this conversation.
Correct.
On a
He
conversation, I
won.
simply gave him a simple question, a
Negro
simple answer. If
calling
you are mixed
black.
race, a black mixed race person, you identify yourself as black, you are for black people, and you are for land infrastructure nationhood, it's that simple, and kept it at that. Once we go further down the line, we can have that conversation, we can have that litmus test. But that's your answer.
Yeah,
This
Who
Jabari
nigga
is the
did
equivalent of
this.
me and my wife talking about we were aspiring to buy a mansion in Beverly Hills and we're broke, can't get a mortgage, but we're arguing about what color furniture we're gonna put in. Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about here?
Yeah. Why we're arguing over the color of the Bugatti
This
that we don't have.
this
Right.
nigga been spamming Street Fighter combos for 30 minutes. He is perfect. Flawless combinations, man.
I just want to say personally, I want to say I really wish Carl did not have to come in and had to like drop the mic and like had to put that in, but it was necessary because that whole conversation was just I did not want it.
It's all right. It was an example.
Like,
Yeah.
The whole thing was just like I said, a blueprint lesson in
Certainly.
Negro stalling tactics.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
how do we take things off course of what we were trying to do? Like I said, the infrastructure is in place for anybody that wants to be involved in nationhood. It's here. And the people that are real are the people that signed up, are the people that's participating in the programs and the things that we're doing. And the people who haven't are doing what that guy is doing, sitting in some room with a whole bunch of signs and stuff like this is fucking a beautiful mind, breaking down shit for no reason.
Right. And no, and that you're 100% bellhop, and that's part of what I was alluding to earlier. To me, the profile, right, of cats who are just impotent in their life, and so that's what you hang on to. I'm deep. I have some great thing. You can't manifest anything. I wanna to that point. I want to put a joke because talking to you now, Holop, you've said so many Holopisms over the years I listened to. You know, like I said today, I'm excited. I'm finally talking, and they're not coming to my mind. But one of the things that I was going to say as part of my contribution to BIO that to me encapsulate the point you just made is that I remember as a kid, on some of you old enough to remember Video Soul with Donnie, what's his name?
Donnie Simpson.
Donnie Simpson. And at the end of the show, he'd all say, you know, small minds talk about people, average minds talk about events, great minds talk about ideas. And I've kind of tweaked it in relation to BIO and I think the mission. And I said, you know, small minds disproportionately talk about people, average minds disproportionately talk about events, and great minds talk about ideas, but effective minds move beyond talk and take proactive action to change their material reality. And that's my feeling that I think encapsulated what the BIO is about, and that he, to your point, Hollett illustrated the opposite, that we're talking about moving beyond talk and taking constructive, proactive action that's going to have going to change the material reality of us and our children going and the world moving forward in a real tangible way. Not this philosophizing, you know, I'm nauseous to just on and on and on with no, literally, to your point, with no end game in sight. Because my thing was, okay, well, what is going to satiate you, brother, that needs to be said that you're going to say, you know what, guys, you're right. And I'm going to be part of BIO policy committee that we're going to write our constitution in terms of what we're going to bring, and we're going to codify that into law. And thank you for explaining it. But that was never going to happen. He was never going to say that.
No, not at all.
The end game is just the continual argument.
Let me ask you this question. Let me ask y'all all this question. If George Weah and the people of Liberia right now said did a constitutional referendum right now and said we want to get rid of the Negro clause, what are we going to do to stop it? What can we do to stop it?
Right.
Correct. I would analogize it, Jabari, to my issue getting back on track in terms of the original topic, and I would analogize to the reparations thing. Any of us, especially many of us who grew up in this movement for 30 plus years, who've read all the books, not just read and met the Cress Welsings, and I mean, when my wife and I were in college, that was our date night. We go see Dr. Francis Cresswell. We speak. Dr. Ben, Amos was all of these luminaries reading the book, Destruction of Black Civilization. I mean, just all Dr. Ben, Dr. John, all of us who've been ensconced in this knowledge for so long have long since understood that, to your point, you have to move beyond just simply talking about it and what is the end game. And I think that spoke to earlier, you know, what Brother Dewitt, and we're referencing that many of us just became disillusioned because it's like, what is the freaking end game? Are we going to do every time a black male or woman is killed by the police in an unjust manner, and then, you know, it's like wash, rinse, repeat, and they become a new hashtag, and that's what attracted me. Not just attracted me, that's what stood out like a flashlight with BIO. It was the first time that I heard a group saying, no, we have a proactive, concrete, cogent idea to bring a permanent solution to this shit. Because if not, we're just doing the same thing over and over, and it's going to be my children and my children's children say her name or say his name. Like, that's madness.
You know what's really frustrating to me, and it's something that I've really had a hard time wrapping my mind around, is when you look at the condition that our people are in just across the globe, and especially here in America. It's just amazing to me that a black person, especially a black man, could see forward progress and intentionally stop it.
Right.
I can't wrap my mind around that.
Because you know why he was
In a
doing
way, I'm
that?
glad I can. What's up?
Well, he's talking about white supremacy. He's enacting it. He's stopping the progress of people doing something positive. So he's talking about white supremacy, and he's basically promoting it. And he lost any credibility he had went out the window when he said collegenesis. Right then and there, I'm done.
Right.
And my thing is, he still sent us the comment just 2 minutes ago talking about we need to identify our mixed race question. That's not our focus. That's not our focus.
There is no mixed race question.
Like, that's
nobody
not
was
our
even
focus.
talking about a mixed race issue until he brought it up.
Like, that's not our focus. If there are mixed race people who identify as black and they want to be a part, they can hop on. If they don't, we don't care. We keeping it moving.
Keeping it moving to tangible stuff that's practical. To the point, going back, because I lost my train of thought, I apologize. The point I was going to say is about reparations, specifically, and Holla, again, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I heard many of you brothers and sisters make this point. When the new iteration, because again, my issues with people like Yvette Carnell and Tone Talk specifically, with them, let me make a delineation from them, Tariq. My issue with them is, to me, an overt narcissism, like she thinks she invented this thing and she's the queen mother of reparations, and that's not proper leadership. We understand it's a marathon, it's a handoff, but I would give her credit to say, at least I think she's absolutely a more serious person than Tariq Nasheed in terms of, and that's debatable, but there's at least some level of acumen there in terms of her background, working in Capitol Hill, blah, blah. But my critique, now that's where it ends. From there, her or someone like Tariq is, when he created, everyone know he created FBA as a cutoff from her, because he was with them at first with ADOS. Then he saw the grift, okay, and being a raging narcissist he is, I got to do my own thing. And then, of course, he created a bastardized version of it. So when she calls him, she's a mother, she is correct in that sense, because he's grift to grift to grift. But my point is, when you listen to, when someone was, the earlier conversation about his FBA possibly benign, or by people like me would characterize it absolutely toxic, is that if you go into, and I'm not on Twitter, I don't have a Twitter account, but I've listened to the YouTube streams of the FBA, the Twitter spaces, and it's just pure vitriol. And this thing about tethers, and some cats like me, brother, I'm 49 years old, came to the mainland United States when I was 15. I'm not, technically, I was born in the United States Virgin Islands, so I'm an American citizen by birth. So I'm listening to these guys talking about, Tariq Nasheed has literally taken every ill and said it's, and vilified continental Africans and West Indians or Caribbeans, bringing AIDS, doing wrong. I mean, just a litany. It literally reminds me of, if you studied when the genocide in Rwanda that led up to it, when they were beyond the radio and just calling people cockroaches and just jitting up. If you listen to some of these Twitter spaces, that's essentially what it is. And then so brothers like myself, when I look back at Tariq Nasheed, because Tariq Nasheed was the original Tommy Sotomayor. We've all seen the thing when he was in Brazil, chasing white women, sleeping with, bragging. I mean, he was a freaking coon. He was the ultimate bedbug coon. It's so ironic the amount of projection this dude does. So when a brother like me, who's by his definition of tough, not of the lineage, but when I was 18, 19 years old, I joined the Nation of Islam. I remember we would sell papers, going to the, there was one brother selling papers in one of the Jordan Down projects, and then some gangbangers threatened him. So we came in there deep, like 300, everybody, and it was the way the nation projects its soft power. We came in and we came in deep like an army, and we went to door knocking at every door, and that way just to send our presence. I also remember this was the height of the Bloods and Crips when they were going through the peace treaty. So there was one time that the Mos 27 in Los Angeles, they organized, they brought all the Bloods and Crips together, and of course, we patted everyone down, so there was no weapons, but we were in this huge park, and of course, some nigga shit happened. Somebody got mad. Before you know it, I'm in the middle of a huge riot, chairs being thrown. I'm littering my thousands of gang members. LAPD is overhead, and then fast forward, Dr. Khaled. Dr. Khaled, after he was shot, he had the assassination attempt on him. He came and spoke at Cal State Long. He was the assassination attempt was one of the UC campuses, I believe UC Riverside or UC Davis. So he came back and spoke at Cal State Long Beach, and my now wife, then girlfriend, she could verify. I had already kind of left the mosque, but Dr. Khaled obviously was put out the nation, and he was persona non grata, but he was still loved by the people. So he came and spoke, and he had no FOI protection, none, zero zilch. So I remember going there for the Black Consciousness Conference, and Dr. Khaled speaking. I went home and got my suit and tie, bow tie, came back and got on the stage with him by myself. I was his sole security. And at that time, I would have happily taken a bullet for Dr. Khaled on my dead father's name. My point is, brothers like myself, when I listen to people like Tariq and other and his ilk going in on people who are not of so-called FBA lineage and were automatically coons and hate Black Americans, and I'm like, what, nigga? I put in more work than you clowns have ever even think of. When you were literally chasing white women and trying to be a bootleg struggle rapper, talking about wash your ass with this whack. I mean, Tariq was so whack. And then there's a thing with him, Dan Calloway, Young Pharaoh. All of these guys are failed rappers. It's very, very telling, the profile. It's very telling. Bro Sanchez, the lead flat earther. All these clowns are terrible failed rappers. There's something there to unpack on that. But my
Brother,
point is I'll finish my thought and I'll land my plane. Is brothers and sisters, that when I hear all this vitriol about that all they go on is tether. If you listen to this dude's streams, and the whole time I'm saying, if you're supposed to be king of LA, this is our country, we founded, this is our country, the way this jingoistic, crazy sounded like a right winger, this is my country. Okay, bro. Well, to pass national reparations, you have to get, first of all, there's no president who can give you reparations. It has to go through Congress. So please explain to me, because right now I'm sitting in a red state in middle America with white folks whose median income is about $30,000. Please explain to me, Yvette Carnell and Tariq for that matter, what exactly is your plan to have all of these Senate and it is not a Democrat or Republicans, both showed you, none of them are for reparations. And even if there were to pass reparations, you're not going to think it's going to be challenged in courts? And who runs the Supreme Court? You think they're going to say, yeah, these poor working white folks that I'm sitting there right now, sir, I'm making barely 30,000, struggling, looking beat up and dusty and just lost of hope. They're going to be cool with handing out African American, the 40 million African Americans, just checks and just like that, voila, because you browbeat and you yell, but you don't have any actionable plan to just tell me simply how exactly you're going to get these Congress people, how are you going to get this red Congress, this Republican Congress to vote reparations? Because it doesn't matter who the president is. The president can't give you reparations. Congress has to pass it, and the president can either veto it or sign the bill. And even if he does, it can still be challenged in court and be taken to the Supreme Court and be overturned then. So if you were serious people who are really about that life, those are conversations you'd be having. Not freaking every time I listen to a Tariq Nasheed thing is about tethers and tethers and tethers. Like the few Black folks here have some control over that.
for the same
It's ridiculous. I land my plane. Floor is yours.
It has to pass the Congress and the Senate, and
Thank
the
you.
president has to sign it.
Correct.
I just want to say one of the things that with these conversations is they tend to infantilize Black people as we are incapable of dealing with our own situation and controlling our own destiny. They act like, if Black immigrants come to America, that all of a sudden it's going to dilute African Americans. African Americans ain't got no power. Like we can't have any influence. We can't muster ourselves together. Or if we go to Africa and we have a country that if we don't answer this immediately, all of a sudden they're going to come in and they're going to take over. We know we're not stupid. We're not babies. We know better. We have minds. We're intelligent people.
Can I ask you a question, Jabari?
Society.
Bart, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Since we're on the topic of reparations, and we know that reparations are actually given to people and that normally have an established nation or state body, what are the current obligations that the United States have to the nation of Liberia?
So the United States and Liberia have a close relationship. I would say, I mean, just a couple weeks ago, obviously like a couple months ago, the U.S. government wanted to work with Liberia because to counter Chinese and Russian influence. So the U.S. sees Liberia sort of strategically. So I would say that is U.S. foreign policy action as it pertains to Liberia in terms of U.S. policy.
So what is stopping black people from going to Liberia and getting their reparations through Liberia?
Nothing.
Nothing.
So why? That's what I'm saying. Like, why are people against this? I'm of course I'm saying it in jest, right? Like,
Right,
why are
yeah.
people so fucking against us? Like, duh, we already have the nation state. It's right there. The United States already has on paper that they've established it and it's their quote unquote colony. I mean, I don't know why this is not black and white.
I would say there are
The only
serious.
people you're going to hear talking about it is us.
Yeah.
It's one of the things, like, not only does it have to pass the Senate and the Congress and the Supreme Court, but just think about it, right? It has to first, they're going to say it's got to be feasible. Y'all want 14 trillion, that's not going to happen. We can probably give y'all maybe like 500 billion, maybe like over a span of 5 7 years. But they're not going to give you 14 trillion. They're not going to give you 10 trillion. Like, they're going to say, okay, if they're going to give you us reparations, it's going to be like, it's going to look like somewhat feasible to them. And then, you know, it gets handed out. So, I mean, that's the thing that people don't understand is that it's not.
It's not going to happen.
It's not.
It's a fantasy. And as far as I'm concerned, what so-called, and I have this in quotes, Black Americans, ADOS and FBA or whatever, I mean, they already know what they got to do. Didn't they see Avengers Endgame? They got to get together and get the fucking time stone and all of these stones before Thanos gets it. And then you win.
You are a fool.
There it is. The blueprint has already been set. Just watch Endgame and just do what they did. Just come up with your version of the Avengers.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, since we're talking about ridiculous shit, we might as well throw that in there.
Yeah, I think what's so cynical is that
Brother Sunko.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, beloved.
You should probably stop listening to Tariq.
Yeah, I know. It's masochistic on my part. It is. It's a form of masochism.
Yeah, because like I from time to time I'll check it out just because I like to stay aware of stuff. But my mentality with people like Tariq is that I'm actually thankful for them. I appreciate guys like that. Because to me, they're not making anybody anti-black or anything. They're just exposing them. And that's good for people like us as far as I'm concerned. I like knowing who's who.
Yeah.
I look at him like Donald Trump. Like a lot of people try to act like Donald Trump is creating racists. Nah, but all he's doing is just really emboldening them to come out front with it. I like that.
That's it. Yeah. No, thank you for that, good brother. And you're right. I would say, I mean, I don't listen near as much, but I think, you know with the YouTube algorithm, I think some of my the stuff I'm speaking to is that I purposely use the term metastasize, like cancer. Some of these crazy ideas, if I was to juxtapose them against someone like a Dane Calloway is extremely niche. I think Tariq is more exposure to larger popular media, and
it's not metastasizing, it's just bringing them out. That's all.
Yeah, but I mean, like, no, not to your point. I remember my barber. I saw him a month ago, and he's like, "Yeah, man, we native abos." I'm like, "What, bro? Where the heck?" So some of the stuff. But to your point, it's the majority of folks is because you're not really even listening. This so-called conscious community, in terms of the broadest sense, is really a niche bunch of folks on YouTube for the most part. But yeah, so I agree with you, beloved. I want to speak to the the things about BRO that attracted me to this organization and what we're about. And when I was speaking about you, Brother Hollip, specifically, and Brother Dawood, is just you have so many isms, some of your sayings. And what I said that you're a great political mind is that you're not reinventing the wheel. When I hear you talk, I know, okay, I can tell the lineage of Amos Wilson where you're getting from. But the way you guys have put it together in a cogent, smart way and simplifying this. And I remember even when you, Brother Jabbar, had first came up with the Liberia idea, I mean, initially I was like, oh no, what are we talking, and then I sat with it and heard you unpack it, and I'm like, yeah. So it just speaks to the brain trust that we have in this organization. And again, I don't want to dominate, man. I just wanted to, today I just felt compelled. I'm quiet because I'm here away from the family doing this project for at least the next 8 months till we bring this utility solar farm online. So I have a lot of solo time right now. And I really felt compelled to call in and to let you guys know, I've been a member, but I will absolutely be more engaged and just to give you brothers and sisters your flowers, man, to let y'all know that there's many of us like I hear who are moving, who are serious people, and who really are excited about what the mission. And I like my plane.
I said we appreciate it, and I know, and this was a great conversation. I know we've been talking a long time, 3 hours and 30 minutes. This was a well needed live stream. We addressed our points about the transatlantic slave trade. We addressed Negro Stalin tactics, had a prime example of that. So we really we had a thorough live stream. Thank you guys for showing up. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Any last minute comments? I think we have the lounge today. I don't know where Underrated is, but we do have that.
Oh, he's working tonight.
Yeah, any last remarks?
Yeah, Underrated's working tonight.
All praise to M. Bison.
Jabbar, how do I be part of that the lounge? I don't know, where is that on the website?
If you're a BL member, what we do is we're on the Discord. So if you have Discord, you can just thing, and we usually just
we'll send you the link once you send us the email.
Did you guys get the email from the register page from me?
I'll take a look now. Let me see.
No, let me.
You sent it to me and Jabari, or just?
No, I just I tried to use the website on the contact us page.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So I should be getting that soon.
Yeah, if they don't agree, you can leave. But I don't understand what the disagreement is, because ours is pretty much straightforward and it's very broad and open to every Black person imaginable. So if you don't agree or have a problem with us, it's because you got some Stalin tactics. That's all it is. But yeah,
this stuff is not complicated. It's like we took all of the things that we learned in the past and we came up with 3 words: land, infrastructure, nation. We just broke it down to the least common denominator. So when you try to overcomplicate that, I got nothing for you, man. I got nothing for you, because this, like I said, this is this cafe consciousness. This is this sitting in a cafe with your legs crossed, sipping on a latte, musing over the plight of our people. That's what this is to me. It's a bunch of bullshit. If you're really serious, you'll get involved. I'm at this stage, so I don't care about people who got straightening combs and iron, and thinking that they in TPs or they Indians or people who's space aliens from the planet Ritz. I don't give a flying fuck about any of them. All I care about is the people who want to do something in Liberia. Come on down, as Bob Barker would say. Come on down. You're the next contestant on Let's Build Up Liberia. All this other stuff is a bunch of nonsense. Like this conversation that we had with this dude was just entertainment. It's just us entertaining nonsense. At the end of the day, We have things to do in Liberia, and we're doing them every week. And if you're interested, get involved. It's that simple. This is not fucking complicated.
Yep.
And I just want to point out, we got Ronin Black on the live stream. So I'm and that tells you all you need to know. It's always a treat when we get Ronin.
Hey, y'all like my profile pic?
Wait, where is it?
Oh,
yeah.
man, I see.
That's funny, yo.
Yeah, but dude comes on all the
Always a
live streams
pleasure
all
to
the
have
time, though.
Yeah, I've seen them
Yeah.
before, but like these people, like they hang around the BAIO all the time. We just recently had some people that we had to let go that was hang around. You know, they just hang around. They don't get involved. They don't do anything except critique. And like I said, yeah, but that's what you usually hear. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but yeah, I know you're picking Liberia, but it's like I'm so used to this stuff, man.
You'd be surprised what you can learn when you get involved with us. Like I'm learning a lot, man. Like instead of just like talking and shit, you can actually like learn a lot if you're actually sincere.
Yeah. And brother
Boom. I agree 100%.
Sankofa, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, beloved.
I'm humbled by what you said about me. I appreciate it.
It's all facts. Yeah, it's facts. Well, you know what it is, Holly. We've been in this game for a minute. We've heard all the voices, but you synthesize it in a way that I just never heard before, and it made perfect sense. And it is, yeah. So I would, we have to set the example, and to your point, maybe some of the legacy organizations or people we have to do the work. And some of us are not.
Yeah, once we produce something tangible and concrete, people go like, what happened when they found out that there was jobs and opportunities in New York? What did everybody do? They left the South and came over to New York.
That's
it's the same thing. It's the same thing is going to happen. Once they see things tangible and concrete being built, they will get on board. That's why I don't waste my time going back and forth with these people.
Right.
Yep.
That's all I got to say. If anybody has anything else to say, I will holler at you people later.
All right, everybody. That can be the mic drop. That could be the mic drop.
Shout out.
Peace, everybody.
Peace, brothers. Right. Appreciate you guys.
Peace.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.
Peace, man.